Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Pure golden sound and good talk. 94.4 Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin,
hello, how
agent
are you?
provocateur, the man in the chair.
Day of January 2021. Just the other day, Friday, people are celebrating. It's a new year. It's like people have already forgotten there was a celebration for a new year just last week. And now we're talking about 2021. And we're moving on. Mm-hmm. How are you, Nduoko?
Nduoko is fine. She says hello to both gentlemen in the room and is hoping that both of them are doing well.
The spokesman for the gentleman, please.
Thank you very much. This morning, I am well, thank you. and how are you this morning?
I am very well, thank you. It's Friday, so it feels kind of good.
Okay.
Fridays come with that feeling, don't they?
Yeah, it's a Friday feeling.
This understanding that the week has come to an end.
Yes.
The feeling I have is that this week was rather speedy.
I feel the same, by the way.
Because yesterday my mind was actually on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday.
You thought yesterday was Wednesday?
My mind, yes, my system was on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that Monday went a little too quickly.
Yeah.
So Monday didn't feel like a Monday.
Monday, no, it didn't actually feel like a Monday. It felt like something else.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday felt like Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Then Wednesday also. I mean, these days have.
They just kind of morphed.
What are they doing? And then Wednesday felt like Monday also, and then a bit of Tuesday.
And then like just like that.
But I think also this is now trying to figure your system trying to figure out being off work and then getting back to work and getting the systems working and organizing themselves so that they can fit into work mode. I think this is what I'm experiencing, and this is what I am talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But suffice it to say, I am well, and if you ask Eric, he'll also tell you he's well. So on his behalf, let me just tell you, he is well.
He's well.
Yes.
This is good news.
Okay. So welcome to the show, everybody, and we're glad that you're tuned in this morning. We are also live streaming the show, and the live stream is up early this morning. Spice FM KE on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter, and also on our website, www.spicefm.co.ke. A lot has happened since we last spoke. This, of course, we've seen what has happened in America. So the Congress was able to certify the election of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as president and vice president. They're now due to be sworn in on the 20th. Trump, although kicking and huffing and puffing, has just said, okay, so there's going to be a transition on the 20th. Okay.
And if he had said there was no transition, what was...
Nothing.
What would have
He's
changed?
basically just like, he's getting to that point where he's basically conceding without conceding. The whole issue here was He hadn't conceded. So, okay. Transition happening on the 20th. Yeah, okay, he's getting to that level of acceptance that it's done. Members of his cabinet are leaving the ship, left, right, and center. Education secretary has resigned and said, you know what, there are children who are watching the happenings and being in charge of education. We see what we are teaching them now, but I think it's important for me to step down.
He's seeing it now. He's in the cabinet. He's seeing it now.
You're seeing the demonstrations yesterday. I mean, before that, there were no demonstrations.
Is it really the demonstrations are a manifestation of something that has been in existence for a very long time?
That he hadn't seen.
No, he had not seen that.
You know, this culture of resignation, really, we really must discuss it at some point. The effectiveness of it and the genesis of it, the effectiveness, and why it is that people feel it is the right thing to do at certain points in time. And whether that timing is usually the right
The timing.
Yes.
Yeah, it will be an important discussion. Because also look at Mike Pence. So Mike Pence suddenly appears to be an angel because he went and presided over this sitting of the Congress. And he said, no, we're going to follow the law. And he has unfollowed Trump on Twitter. And he has done all these things. So is Mike Pence now a good gentleman? Can you look back and say, you sat back there as you watched everything that Trump was doing? If you feel now that you disagreed, were you agreeing with what he was doing prior? Were you agreeing with the petitions and all the fuss that your campaign was raising about this election? Did you at any point come and say, no, I think we lost?
I think also that we shouldn't underestimate the vibrancy of our own democracy. We shouldn't. You know, we keep talking about exporting the BBI. But I think we've already exported the Tanga Tanga and the Kileweke movement. Because, yes, we have a replica of it. You have the deputy president trapezing all over the country, talking about the ills in the government, and you wonder, Chief.
This is you, man.
You
just in
are
case
the deputy president. Just so that we understand this
You're
thing.
part of the presidency.
Yes. So Pence understands this thing. So we can argue and say Pence is doing a Tanga Tanga thing. He is the vice president. Is there anything really the president will do that you do not know about?
Of course not.
And just because you were quiet about it.
And can you distance yourself from what
How?
has happened when you are the vice president and you never at any point came out to say, you know what, I distance myself from this?
Or that what is happening is wrong.
Or tradition dictates that you cannot distance yourself from things that you don't agree with. No, not really.
No.
That is where now that resignation matter comes into play.
Yes.
He could have resigned.
Yes.
Could have.
Anyway, so we're going to have very many conversations. Is there going to be a vetting for a deputy governor of Nairobi next week? Yes, on the 15th. It's going to happen. So, that and more, keep it right here. COVID-19 in the world. So, the UK has already vaccinated over 1.5 million people. As we are talking about waiting for our own vaccines and trying to see whether we know who we can vaccinate in this country. The States has vaccinated how many?
2 million. Well, at the end of December, they were at 2 million. We'd have to look at how many numbers now.
The India is at how many?
In terms of vaccinations?
So anyway, what are the numbers? How are the numbers looking like?
Okay,
COVID and spread.
We're looking at global numbers now of COVID-19. And let's start with Kenya's numbers. 335 new cases in Kenya, 8 new deaths. Of course, still talk of vaccinations starting next month with 24 million vaccines of doses expected. So as we spoke yesterday with Professor Anzala, we know that what that means is that essentially 12 million people will be vaccinated with those doses that are coming in, right? Because there's a double vaccination that we're looking at for everybody. This brings Kenya's total numbers now to 97,733. 1,702 deaths is what we are looking at. Global numbers now have risen to 88,497,209. 1.9 million deaths now, very close to 2 million, but 63 million recoveries. So that's what we're looking at around the world. The numbers continue to soar in the US. Let's look at what they recorded yesterday. Yesterday, then being Thursday, what was reported? 274,190. Yes, it is the highest number this week. And also the highest number of deaths recorded in the last month at 4,134 in the United States. Okay. Mexico is a country that's jumping out at folks now. Yesterday, they recorded 13,734 new cases with 1,044 deaths. We're looking at a population of 129 million, having done a total of 3,781,000 tests around the country. All right, so they're also grappling with this one. It's a tough one, and how they'll be able to deal with it is quite something. Let's look at India. 10,414,044 cases. Yesterday, India recorded 18,106 new cases against 234 new deaths. Considerably now that you're looking at a population of 1.3 billion, you're looking at low cases. So, their cases have dropped. And according to what we are seeing coming from the Times of India, there's, in terms of what they're giving out in terms of the vaccine now, I believe now they have vaccinated almost 10 million people. All right? And they're using that. Their recoveries are rising, and they're trying to work on this as much as they can. Cases have dropped. They're not recording as high numbers as they had previously. So India seems to be working well with this.
Okay. Okay. You see, so we'll be having, just like we said, the next couple of weeks, we'll be having that 3 V's conversation. And the 3 V's, as we were taught yesterday by Professor Omwenzala, is number 1, talk about the vaccine. What vaccine are you getting? How do you handle it? Number 2, talk about the vaccinators. Okay, so the vaccinators are the workers that are going to be giving out the vaccine. How you do the logistics of transporting the vaccines from the point of arrival to the point of a human body. How do you get that done? Do you maintain it in cold chain? Do you ask people to come to a certain center? Do you go to people's homes? And then number 3 is the vaccinees. And the vaccinees is the people that we're going to vaccinate. So who are these 12 million people that we're going to vaccinate? And where are they? Are they all in Nairobi? Are they across the country? How do you get them across the country? Do we know how they are? How are we going to be able to monitor how the vaccine is basically behaving in their body? If they have any adverse effects, if anybody has any side effect, how do you take care of that? How do you monitor it? If all that needs to happen, and that conversation should be happening. So we will keep certain that conversation happens. 6:15, time for us to take a quick break. Look at the weather, and then hear today's proverb, and look at the headlines. Good morning.
Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's clear, a little bit dark in Nairobi still. 16 degrees what we're looking at. We'll go through highs of 26 today, this Friday. Mostly clear conditions in Nakuru at 15, highs of 25. 25 will also be the high in Nyeri today, where it's clear currently at 11 degrees. Clear skies also in Eldoret at 10, going to highs of 24. Kisumu this morning is mostly clear at 21, highs will be 27. There's a chance of rain in Kakamega today, but very, very low. 16 and clear, highs of 28. 31 will be the high in Mombasa, mostly clear conditions at 25. 18 degrees in Malindi, clear skies, going to highs of 28 and lows of 17. We're also looking at clear skies in Kampala, 20 degrees this morning, highs of 28. And it will be going to highs of 32 in Dar es Salaam, partly cloudy conditions, 27 at the moment. 17 degrees and cloudy conditions in Johannesburg, highs of 23. We're also looking at highs of 32 in Lagos. Light rain this morning at 26, coming down to lows of 24. It's also raining in Kinshasa at 23 with highs of 28. We'll see lows of 23. It's a little bit warmer in Beijing today, only at 7 degrees at the moment. We'll go to highs of -4 and down to lows of -10. It's 1 degree, almost freezing in Paris this morning. Clear skies, however, it'll only go to highs of 3 and lows of 1. Flat out 0 in London. Fair skies, a bit cloudy here and there, going to highs of 3 and back to lows of 0. 0 will also be the low as New York gets into Friday. Currently still Thursday night. Clear skies, however, at 2, and it'll go to highs of 5.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Eighteen minutes after 6, wherever you are. Very good morning to you and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Where are people?
Where are people? Sir Haran Wafula, good morning, sir. He's tuning in from Kisumu. So let the conversation continue. Shirake has gotten back on the train this morning and he's headed into the city and says good morning. So at least we know where you are. Good morning. JF Kennedy Ouma is tuned in from Kiserian in Kajiado. And Robert Mbogo is spiced from Mombasa. Charity, good morning from Nakuru. Kibet Silla says good morning. He's tuned in from Baringo. Alex Mbogo says, ending the week with you people, live from Nyeri. Benson Mumo, morning, tuning in. And Isaiah Kebwaro tells us that he is listening from downtown Minneapolis. And Vimo. It's getting us loud and clear from Dubai.
Okay.
And Mike Kiboro this morning from Karatina. Good morning, people. Many more people tuned in, but we'll say good morning to you guys.
Good morning, world. Thank you very much for tuning in this morning, wherever you are. Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter, www.spicefm.co.ke, or on terrestrial frequencies in Malindi, Nyeri, Eldoret, Nakuru, Kisumu, Mombasa, Nairobi. CT Muga is in the house, and today he has another one of those Nigerian love proverbs.
Actually, yes, this isn't Nigerian. This is universally African. Okay? Really simple, easy to understand, the sort of proverb you want to hear on a Friday.
Oh, boy.
One who loves you warns you.
Warns you.
Warns, wewe, usiende huko.
Nakupenda. They warn you that they love you.
Please leave him. Don't worry.
Eric,
let me apologize on his behalf.
No, what do you mean? One who warns you loves you. Loves you. One who loves you warns you.
Okay, let me
I'm
help. Can
warning
I help you?
Ndu. I'm warning you.
That I love you.
I love you.
Okay, so what?
Be warned.
So, essentially,
or should you say,
because
beloved,
they love you.
Beloved, I am warning you.
Because they love you, they don't want you to get into harm's way. So they warn you about other things, not the love. They do these things out of love. N'est-ce pas, monsieur?
So the person who warns you is because they love you. Okay. I took it the
They're
other way
not
around.
warning you that they love you.
Eric, what you do in these circumstances is not complicated. Come up with your own proverb.
You be Aesop.
Yes, because this man has decided to edit the proverb. Me, I'm reading it.
Yeah, but then
As I
it's
encountered
open
it.
to interpretation. My interpretation of it, as I heard it, is one who loves you warns you.
Warns
So
you
I
that
was
they
like,
love you.
Yeah,
Do I love you?
They call you, come here.
Careful.
come here.
I'm warning you today.
I'm warning you. I'm falling in love.
So be careful. Just watch out.
By the way,
Get elephant.
this is a Ugandan. is attributed to the lovely and wonderful country of Uganda, who in the not too distant future are about to have an election, a national election.
Let me warn you. This one.
You're warning me.
This election.
You will love it. Okay, let's look at the headlines.
So this story that really bothered me, I said it bothered me the whole day. So we have an update on this story. Remember the one we talked about where unfortunately this gentleman was killed in Kiambu. A probe into families' shock killing, unearths shootings and land clash. A land transaction, a mystery 2018 shooting. These are the hints that detectives are pursuing to unravel the motive behind the brutal killing of an American-based nurse and his wife, 2 children and a guard in Karura in Kiambu. Okay? And this is what we are looking at. A land transaction that the American-based nurse Nicholas Njoroge Warunge was undertaking before his brutal murder is the focus of investigations. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations will also revisit a 2018 incident where Njoroge's brother was shot and injured by gunmen. The police went to establish if there's any link to the past attack and the murder of the 55-year-old nurse and his family at their home in Karura, Kiambu County on Tuesday night. Yesterday, detectives from the DCI homicide section visited the home and dusted the compound for clues to the brutal killings. Njoroge, his wife, and 2 of their children were found murdered in their home on Wednesday morning. A construction worker who was asleep in a separate house within the same compound was the first to be killed by the machete-wielding criminals. So 2 groups of DCI detectives have been tasked to unravel the murder that has sent shockwaves in Karura Kamurimo. The homicide unit headed by Edwin Nyugoto will handle the technical part of the investigations, including crime scene analysis and dusting. A second team of detectives from Karuri DCI office have been tasked with gathering intelligence and recording of statements, and they will be backed up by officers from the DCI headquarters cybercrime unit, and they'll analyze call records of the deceased. So now they had gone through his phones on Wednesday, and these have been handed over to the forensic analysis. Yesterday, a section of detectives held their first meeting. It's not clear the number of people who took part in the killing, but by last evening, crime scene officers had mapped out 3 sets of shoe prints from their analysis of the compound. So it shows that he had suffered 34. The preliminary analysis showed that Njoroge had suffered 34 stab wounds, while other members of his family had only been stabbed once.
Actually, the report in the Star is slightly different in that they are reporting that every other member of the family was killed in the same way. The throat was slit. For instance, the wife had 16 stab wounds. Everybody had multiple stab wounds.
Wait, are we talking about the same bodies?
Yes.
So, according to that report,
yes,
everybody had multiple stab wounds.
Yes, and the throat was slit.
Throats.
Yes,
According to this report,
plus the one that was carried in the Nation, he was the one with 34 stab wounds,
yes,
and everybody else had 1.
No, according to this report, 16.
Because even the Nation one, yes, is talking about he's the only one who had multiple stab wounds, but there were not 24. According to the story in the Nation, there were fewer, and their wife and children had 1 stab wound each.
Let me just read the statement so that you understand. Detectives.
It's okay.
It's
all right.
Detectives
We understand.
told the Star that each of the family members was killed in the same exact way: throat slit, arms broken, and multiple stabbings.
Aye.
So maybe the multiple
Okay, different detectives or same detectives probably told a different person who is a reporter in the Nation that preliminary investigations show the killers could have killed Njoroge's wife, son, and nephew first because blood stains, presumably from knives that were used, had left a trail from the sitting room to upstairs rooms. They suspect that Njoroge might have tried to jump from the balcony of his house to the ground floor while his killers caught up with him, hit him with a blunt object, stabbed him several times, and later slit his throat. Okay, wait. There's a part. I'm going to just get that part where they're talking about the number of stab wounds found on him.
Keep looking. While you're looking, let me just read further on that report. This is the wife's body had 16 stab wounds on the front and 8 at the back, while Runge's body bore 34 deep stab wounds. according to the Star.
Yeah. They've said 34 a number of times.
Okay. Anyway, that's one bit of the story. So the other part of the story about the history of the serious attacks on family members. So Mr. Njoroge's two brothers have also been attacked previously, right? And this is what we're talking about. In 2016, Alan Njire, a brother to Njoroge, was shot by the unknown assailants while parking his car in Kiambu. He survived. But now he walks with a limp. That was in 2016. The following year, in 2017, another brother of Njoroge's, identified as Kenneth Mwangi, was hit from behind with a blunt object by unknown people. He died instantly. So 2016, one brother shot. 2017, another brother hit with a blunt object, dies. 2021, Njoroge and his entire family killed. Clearly, there's
something here.
Something here that, just like we were saying, there's a story here that points to somebody who wants to eliminate this entire family.
The Kiambu police boss, Ali Nunu, said there are crucial leads. And he said, in 3 days, I'm quoting what he is reported to have said, I will tell you who committed this heinous crime.
In 3 days.
And there's also claimed that these are people who are known. So it is, as you correctly put it, Eric, this story, for those people who live in that particular region, there is some history that is known.
Yeah. If you just talk to the people there, they can tell you here, this and the other. If it's an issue if it's land dispute, where there's one side of a family that's disputing and they want some piece of inheritance or something, it'll come out.
Everything about this will come out, and the individuals involved. And such cases...
Okay, according to that story by the Star, where did this crime take place? What's the name of the village?
They don't actually...
Because the Nation says the village is called Kagongo Karura. The Standard says it's Karura Kamuremo.
Yes.
The Nation. One village.
But there's something positive about the story in the Star. They say that 3 children escaped this murder because they were in school.
Yeah.
They had been taken, the previous day they had been taken to school, so they were in school. So they were not in the house.
Sheesh.
Yes, indeed.
It's one of those, man. It's one of those. And let's hope that police can actually develop watertight evidence against the people that they arraign in court.
Oh, that they will.
Watertight.
A story like this at the beginning of the year with this sort of coverage.
There's something here, man.
The attention that this thing is going to be given and the pressure that is going to be brought to bear are those people. If you ask me, knowing how efficient our police force can be with...
You know, I'm saying watertight. Because you remember, if they are taken to court, it will be on murder. Beyond reasonable doubt. That high threshold for you to actually be able to take this case to court and prosecute it successfully and convince the courts that this is the person who did it. That's the kind of justice that this family deserves.
For sure.
And police have every expectation to take a case to court and make it watertight. Don't take a case to court, and we know how long cases like this will take. 10 years down the road, people are released because...
No, this one we don't want it to take even 2 months.
There was no sufficient evidence to actually prove beyond reasonable doubt.
You see, it's an opportunity to build consensus with the public to show that our police service actually do their work, that our detectives actually do their work. And that also shows up confidence in that so long as you have the police force, if we put aside all the little quibblings we have about this and the other, that they know what they're doing, and that so long as they're around, one can expect justice, and one can also expect to be safe.
Absolutely.
This sort of case helps them provide that sort of feedback to the public.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's why when I heard, in 3 days I'm going to tell you who killed these people, I'm like, boss, now you're starting those games of the police again. Arrest someone, raka. These are people who are known. They are local thugs. So you just go into your database of who have been
who's famous in this area.
Who have been following. These are the ones who killed. And then you take it to court, and you don't have any evidence that places them at the scene of crime.
Remember, Eric, one of the things that also plays into a game like this, many people who fall into the category of police informants are also criminals. but lesser, minor,
Yep.
because they are the ones who would know. Remember, it's like there's an association of criminals.
They know each other.
Not only they know each other, they know the areas in which people work.
operate.
So and so is operating in this area.
Yeah.
So and so is in this area. This area.
It's like, the matatus on their
Yes,
routes.
the
This is
route. No,
46.
my people are not working in that area.
Yeah, that night they were actually somewhere else.
6:30. Time for us to take a look at traffic. What's happening on these roads this morning? So the sun is about to rise. We are back to those long mornings, long nights.
Long nights.
Okay. We'll see that shortly. Good morning.
Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, not much of it this morning. We're looking at, a little bit of traffic building up Mombasa Road. Getting out past Cabanas out there will be an issue. Must understand that the road is a little bit thinner because of the construction that's taking place. But in terms of traffic this morning, it's not looking too bad. A little bit of traffic outbound coming out of Westlands, out through the 87, going in the Limuru direction today. But moving quite well. Into the city also from Westlands, it's also looking pretty good. Coming off of Thika Road, getting through towards Pangani. Kiambu Road is building up quite some already as you try to get out through Muthaiga Corner. More Thika Road is moving slowly, but it's moving as you come trying to get into the city. We don't have any problems on some of the other roads that we see. In Gong Road, if you're there, you're going to get into town in no time. You'll get into the CBD in record time without any issues. Okay, so let's look at that in about half an hour and see how that may have changed. Talk to us if you need to. Spice FMKE on Twitter or text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Say good morning to everybody else who's tuned in. Spice FM KE.
Kev Santana is tuned in this morning from Nanyuki and says good morning to everybody. Good morning, Ndulatif and CT. Ready for the show indeed. Tuned in from Nyakach.
Okay.
That's Dagio Guta. Isaiah Ombura, tuned in from Mombasa this morning. And from Kimilili. I really like that name. I don't know why, but I really like it. There's Kimilili and there's Kinmimini. Don't ask me how I know. But anyway.
There's what?
Tuned in Kiminini. And there's Kimilili. Bungoma.
Okay.
So anyway, Martin Mutoka is tuned in from there. Faristo Muganda is tuned in from Ebubere in Mumias. And Polisi Junior Atwete. Atetwe is tuned in from Lukume in Cabras, as is Isaiah Ombura, tuned in from Mombasa this morning. Bayd Ashley tuned in. Oh, she's changed it to Baywa Macha.
Oh, she's Baywa Macha. Where Karibu Sana. Is that Dennis Wawero as well? Dennis Wawera is also tuned in.
Right.
Wawero, right? Where's Dennis?
Le Perez.
Okay, Dennis. Governor Mtarajiwa. Karibu Sana. What are you looking at, City? The headline?
Well, I'm looking at several headlines, and none of them very encouraging, but we are informed that because of the passing away of our former president, Daniel Arap Moi, all the people who are attached to him, remember that when you're a retired president, there are perks that constitutionally accrue to you. So those perks came to an end, as did the costs.
Okay.
So what is being reported in the Business Daily, the taxpayer was saved 100 million monthly in the quarter of September on the back of withdrawing retirement benefits and stuff attached to the late President Daniel Arap Moi. Okay. So from what I understand is that during the duration of your life, once you've retired, these are things that accrue to you. But the moment you pass away, then those benefits come also to an end.
I can understand some benefits, for example, vehicle and such, and the direct money for your upkeep. Now, what I'd like to understand better is what happens to the staff. Do they get redeployed in public service, or do they now lose their job?
I would also take it further and ask, where were they taken from before they were seconded? Because if it is security, they'll probably just go back to the police force.
Yep.
All right? But what about, because remember...
There are those that are personal assistants.
Yes,
for example, there's a personal assistant, there's a communication...
yeah, but they fall, I think, under the category of, they are actually public employees. Yes, if they're working for a former president, then I am going to take the view that they will be redeployed.
So it's just redeployment?
Yes.
Let's hope so, man. I mean, you don't want to just lose your job because... Yeah. Anyway, so head teachers are in a big dilemma over school fees. They are asking themselves, so how are we going to feed the children? As the Cabinet Secretary, Magoha's instructions not to send students home after they report to school comes to full circle. So head teachers are now wondering, all right, so we have the kids here. We've talked about this. It's a catch-22 for both schools and their parents and the government. It's what is it that can be done to keep the children at home, not at home, but at school, to make sure that they're getting all the services that they should be getting at school, including meals, including if it's boarding facilities, including everything that they should be getting at school. And those parents who are not able to afford school fees or the full amount of school fees at this point, what happens to them? Big dilemma. And we said, it's about time now we just look back and stop pointing fingers at what said Kali do this thing and the other. Parents go and look for money. What can we do as a community and a society to work together to ensure that children that need to be in school go to school? Parents who cannot afford to pay for their children are assisted to do that. It's a conversation that should be moving to that angle.
It should be.
Yes.
There's so much going on, and now we see that the country, according to the nation, is seemingly being thrown under dark clouds because of the health workers crisis that is currently going on in the country. All right, so if we look at details of this particular story, health sector in a crisis as medics and authorities fall out. Dark clouds are once again gathering over Kenya's healthcare sector following a fresh fallout between the government and most cadres of medical workers fighting for their welfare. Already, lab technicians and nurses are boycotting work after the national and county governments failed to address their grievances, while doctors and clinical officers have threatened to return to the streets after governors developed cold feet in the implementation of the agreement that ended their recent strikes. That some governors have started firing medical staff. We saw this coming out of certain counties over the last couple of days, and this has only made matters worse, and unions are threatening to paralyze service delivery. The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, representing 7,200 doctors who have inked a return to work formula with the government last week, says it is patiently waiting for the additional emergency call allowances, now renamed doctors' allowances, as agreed on in 2017. The union wants 116 doctors on contract given permanent jobs and unconditional release of all withheld salaries arising from their recent industrial action. The Treasury, on the other hand, is expected to fast-track funding to counties to procure comprehensive group life, last expense, enhanced work injury benefits, and group personal accident cover as provided by the national insurer. However, that collapsed after the Council of Governors says it is not tenable to meet the said agreements. So it continues to get ugly.
This is Kumulo, there's Kuko, there's nurses, there's KMPDU. Basically, all from whatever side you turn. Then we'll also bring in Kudeha with the cleaners and everybody else who works in the hospital as well, also saying, you know what, the hospital is not just with these technical people.
You know,
there are people who cook, there are people who clean.
Yes.
Those ones that belong to a union called Kudeya.
The timing may be unfortunate in that we have a COVID situation, but the other perspective that this is a culmination of things that have gone on for the longest time.
Yep.
It's just that because we have COVID and COVID has all these unpleasantries that it has brought with it, it doesn't lessen it, but this is what happens when you do not resolve issues. Conclusively.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's also time for leadership as well. Okay. So we've seen, for example, a statement on the issue of health workers and the standoff coming from former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, the brother to the president. And also he's talked about the standoff between the Kenya National Union of Teachers and the Teacher Service Commission. Good stuff. But I think you need to go a step further. As the person who we could call the alternative leader in the country, the person who's like the leader of the opposition, who would be showing, if I were the one who was in this position of leadership, this is what I would do. I think his statement would be very important. It would be very good at this point, but also added with what is it that he proposes happens. Don't just say, it's about time that, this matter is looked at from a very sober perspective. We make that statement here every day. So what else are you saying that should be done? Is it saying that, okay, so in our position as the opposition party, as the leader of the opposition, I'm actually I'm offering to mediate. Because this is happening in counties where the governors are members and leaders of ODM. Mombasa is a deputy party leader of ODM. Kisumu is a national leader of ODM. Looking at the other counties, even Kisii, where the chairman of the Labour Committee of the Council of Governors is a top leader of ODM. So what is it that Raila can then do to show leadership? By resolving this issue, by using the kind of goodwill that now he has with the national government to actually go ahead. You have goodwill at the county level, you have goodwill at the national government level, and you also have a position as a leader of opposition. What can you do to take this? And come 2022, you're at the head.
I would take the discussion even further and ask, how is it and why do they think that CUPET was formed in the first place? Because it was just KNUT, Kenya National Union of Teachers. Yep. Why? And usually they say necessity is the mother of all inventions, isn't it? So this came about because there were groups of teachers who felt they were not adequately represented by Kenya National Union of Teachers. You see, tackling an issue by making statements that are made all the time doesn't tackle the issue. All it does, it says that it's been acknowledged and a functionary statement is made, and that's the end of that.
To show that you said something about it.
Yes.
And then passed on responsibility to somebody else and said,
yes,
you should do something.
Yes. However, when you talk about the plight of doctors right now, hot on the heels of these issues are usually the plight of teachers. It's never far.
Yeah.
It's just that during this COVID period, we haven't been going to school. So we haven't heard. Now that we're back in school,
the wound is opened.
I would pray that it doesn't happen, but that prayer of mine, I think, will go unanswered.
Well, I think we're already getting to the point where things are hot. The fire is already burning. Even when we saw the initial reopening of schools on the 12th of October, that then provided, the stage that both of these quote unquote warring parties had then to start talking about the grievances. Before that, they couldn't, because where were you operating? Now the operations have begun, and now you can say, okay, well, here we have certain issues that we've not been able to resolve. Here it is. And it's hot. We're talking about the potential downfall of a union that has been there for years, that has protected teachers, quote unquote, again. A commission which is also seeking to wield its power and say that they are the sole employer and guardian of the rights and freedoms of teachers.
Of all
teachers, whether you're unionized or not. It is us. So it's not even getting to high temperatures, CT. It is there. The fire is hot. It's burning right now. And unfortunately, those who might suffer it are not necessarily the teachers, not necessarily the commission or the unions, but those then who would be the essential benefactors of teaching.
The learners.
The learners.
Eric has mentioned something in passing. I wish he hadn't. I wish he had actually stuck to it. And he just mentioned leadership in passing. You see, one of the discussions of the many discussions we've had about leadership, the thing that has brought this discussion on leadership to the fore, in my mind, even internationally, is the saga that we've been seeing in America.
Yeah.
Because leadership is not divorced from the personality of the individual who is in a position of leadership, or the individuals who are in positions of leadership. One has to ask, you may have a leader who is very politically astute, but is that political astuteness good for the running of the country? Are they good administrators? And if they are not, do they have a good frame of mind to ensure that they have good people, good in the sense that they are good at what they do and that they can administer properly? Because what you're talking about here, teachers, doctors, health workers, believe me, and others, hotel keepers association, and others, all these things are coming to head, not because they have begun because of COVID. No, because COVID has enabled them to fester and to come out newer, stronger, and even more invigorated. Yes. But there are issues that have never been fully resolved. They've always been there, but they're passed on. A term Eric likes using again. The can is kicked down the road. The road has hit a wall. So,
can is bouncing back.
If you're talking about schools, right now, for instance, if you look at, it's all the three papers, the Business Daily, Star, Daily Nation, but I am quoting from Business Daily, school transport fees up to 80% on COVID rules. And they've even quoted schools that have increased the cost of transporting kids, meaning those who provide transport for children who learn there. And they've given a list, some by 80%, some by 33%, some by 50%, some by 51%, some by 59%. And
it's quite high.
Oh, it is high. It is high.
And you can understand why.
Oh, the logic is sound.
I mean, this bus was carrying X number of students. Now it
was
cannot
carrying 52.
come.
You want it now to carry 20, 27.
Yes. So also it means that you may need to hire other vehicles, and some schools have that they didn't actually have, so that you can maintain the distances and the social distance that you require. So the moment schools were opened, we keep talking about Pandora's box. Pandora has boxes, okay? Those other boxes have now been opened.
She has brought them out.
All of them.
Yes.
Multicolored. 12 minutes to 7. Let's take another quick break and then we come back and look at more headlines. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, Spice FMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique. The official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings,
yes.
done right.
11 minutes to 7. Yes. What you're seeing. So the papers are Nation and Standard have this America headline. Shame, disgraced Trump finally yields to the power of the vote. And chaos and shame is a headline in the Standard. America's dark day in shock, security lapse. Trump supporters storm symbol of US's power in bloody political violence. Where America, bloody political violence.
Did you ever think that you would see those words in the same sentence as America?
Where in Africa is this happening again?
It's the United States of Africa, America. Concerns grow over stability of a leader blocked from social media. Okay, so Mark Zuckerberg also decided to kick him out of his house until, in the very least, until after the 20th. Okay? And then, so it gets quite a bit of coverage inside. I'm looking at today's cartoon, the editorial cartoon by The Nation. And the editorial cartoon by The Nation has this depiction of African leaders. And then it says that African leaders are watching what is happening in America, and they're basically thanking Trump for making them look like saints. Okay. Right? African leaders call and thank Trump for making them all look like saints. And, you know, it has a couple of leaders that you can look at here, and you can tell who this is, who these are. From the leaders of the Republic of Kenya to Uganda to Somalia to Nigeria to Rwanda to South Africa. They're all here.
To Nigeria.
Yes. To the DRC. To
Mauritius.
Yeah. So, And then there's this editorial article by Mutumu Matthew, who's the boss, the editorial boss of The Nation, who says Trump has destroyed America. And in one paragraph here says, Trump has shown that when you boil everything down, the US is no different from Ethiopia, the Philippines, or indeed any African basket case. Democratic order can break down, a leader can defy the law with impunity, and a nation can be bent to the petty whims of its petulant dictator. That is a disaster, but hardly the biggest one. The bigger catastrophe is that America has hardly learned from Trump, and it's likely to travel the same route, if the holy example means anything. So, it's what Mutumu Matthew is saying here, what the editorial cartoon is saying, is something that has been said before. But I was looking at it this morning and I got a bit concerned. This is, from my feeling, it's like we sort of sit back and accept, but we are the Africans. We are the ones who
are supposed to be
doing this. It's like, our African leaders are the ones who are like that. If you look at that depiction here in the editorial cartoon, which of these African leaders has done this? Which of these African leaders has actually refused to concede a democratically lost election? Why are we saying, giving the example of any African basket case or any basket case, and mentioning, for example, Ethiopia and the Philippines? Why?
Let's take this perspective, all right? If you take the view that certain individuals, certain countries are superior to you, and I'm using the term superior deliberately, all right? And for the longest time, we've had that deficit of self-admiration, self-appraisal, and self-love as Africans. And we have subjugated it to what we think are people who we consider superior. Now, someone may think, what are you talking about? Well, I'm talking about a reality. Things that are considered European, but in the not too distant past, it was anything American was considered better. If it comes from America, better. All right? Now, if you have that mindset, even when something is wrong, you'll find a way of justifying it so that it is not as bad as it seems. Now, what we're seeing here is a typical, it's not African, human reaction to when it is clear that you don't need to prostrate before this particular power anymore. If you look at what's happening, Zuckerberg, all these Twitter people, all these individuals, Trump has been saying crazy things for a long time.
Yeah. Suddenly, when you see it blatantly, is when you decide that it's time for you to speak.
Is he saying anything crazier than what he has said before? The answer is no. So why now? He has individuals who worked for him for the longest time. Now at the 11th hour, 13 days to go before that transition. 13 days. Then the jump ship. No. This is human nature at its worst. And it shows the self-centeredness that we tend to have, and it also shows you the fickle nature of power and how it is we as human beings manage it. Now, in an African context, it is clear. African leaders many African leaders don't pretend about how they want power distributed. They want to be the power, and they want to distribute it to the people they see fit to distribute it to. And democracy resides within that sort of sphere. If they want to change the constitution, they'll change it. If they want to be presidents for life, they will become presidents for life. Now, we didn't expect Americans to pull that sort of stunt. Why? Because we thought and we believed that they have a system that is beyond that. Human beings are not beyond anything. Anything that other human beings can do, other human beings can also do.
My problem is, for example, saying that African leaders are calling Trump to thank him for making them all look like saints. It's basically implying that they're not. It's implying that African leaders are the devil and Trump should have been the angel. Or previous American presidents are.
This we behavior is expected of African leaders.
Well,
or that it's there in African leaders. Look, if you have one or two presidents who have an issue, those are the ones that you stick out with. Don't generalize it and say, this is what happens in Africa and third world countries. Absolutely not. I'm refusing to take that.
But Eric,
in this country of ours, we've had elections since independence.
Eric, what you're saying is absolutely true. But what is equally, that's why I did not make it African. I made it human. The human capacity to conform is profound. When it's happened long enough, you accept and say, it's the norm. We've heard people on radio telling us, but you can't change this. And we say, of course you can change it. What do you mean you can't change it? The example you're giving about our election, look, we've had very credible elections.
Yes.
Why do we need observers to come and tell us the election is credible?
Yeah.
Remember, yesterday we were talking to the Vice Chancellor of USIU Africa, and he brought an example of Malawi, which I loved. Elections held, EU observers say credible. Malawians say it is not credible.
It's not credible. We are going to court.
We don't like this thing. They go to court overturns it. You have another election, the opposition wins. Those who are in power say, yes, it was credible. Now, that is a sort of example that isn't heralded adequately, and it should, because of what happened. Here, we talk about legal systems that don't work. We had something similar.
Same thing happened.
Long before Malawi. You had an election that was nullified. We had another election again.
Yep.
So, whatever else you say, we do have a system that works.
Yeah, but forwarding this narrative, keeping on this narrative of this is who we are.
Yes,
this is not who
we have systems that don't work.
Yeah,
we have
this is not who we are.
And
our systems work.
They work.
We have an election coming up in Uganda. There is an election. It is very clear to everybody the date of the election. It's very clear to everybody who are the campaigning. So we have issues with how the campaigns are being conducted, or whether the powers are misusing.
Do they have an election? Yes.
Yes, they have an election.
Are people allowed to vote? Yes.
Yes. It happened. The same thing happened in Tanzania. Come on.
But Eric, you know what happens with the election in the US? What it shows us, and this is why I brought the human element in, there is no difference. Because the issues that were being raised in America in the election are the issues that have been raised from time immemorial about our elections.
Yeah.
So the question now I want to ask, and the difference is?
How to handle it.
And we seem to be able to handle ours a lot better.
If you think about 200 years of building institutions and all, and ours, 50 years of building institutions, we are actually getting closer and closer to having credible institutions that can deal with this.
But remember also that some of the laws that these Americans are dealing with are laws that were put in place at the time when they had their independence, which was centuries, not decades, centuries ago. Yes. Now, if there are people who need to have a new constitution like we did, it's them.
Yep.
Stop patching up that document and calling it the amendment.
Just follow the example of Kenya and have a new constitution, which meets the needs of your country as it's currently constituted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, probably that's it. So keep it right here for more conversations. And today, because our phone lines are now working, we'll be opening them up early enough. You can tell us anything you want to talk about.
Not anything.
Yes, including whether you want CT to, talk to you, akuone kando. Unajua CT, unajua mzee. Unajua
mwezi ni mbaya.
Unajua watoto wamerudi shule sasa. 0719012600 is the number to call on Spice FM KE on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and YouTube as well. Good morning. It's now 7 o'clock.
Spice up your life. Spice FM, Nakuru. Traffic.
Okay, let's start off with that call, guys. The kids are going back to school and a lot of kids are walking, so please be extremely careful. This week alone, we've had a couple of accidents which school children have been knocked down, so please, when you see them, do slow down. It's absolutely necessary. Joining outering from Jogger Road seems to be a spectator sport this morning. And it's not one for the faint-hearted, so that you need to be careful about. Traffic is building up in that area. Let's look out of Jogger Road now, heading towards the City Stadium roundabout, out towards Landis Road, getting into the CBD. It's moving slowly this morning. You're going to creep into the CBD, though, bumper to bumper in some parts. As you head in there, it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's not moving too badly. It's moving slowly, but not at a standstill. Coming into the CBD also from Thika Road. It'll slow you down right around with Tiger Corner as you join then from Kiambu Road and then out towards the Pangani underpass. So that's where we see the hiccups this morning. Mombasa Road is a breeze. It's looking pretty good. Even at the SGR, it's moving slowly, but we're not at bumper to bumper yet. Looks like a good Friday, no? Yeah. All right. Talk to us if you need to. Spice FMKE on Twitter or text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is
thank
the
you very much for
Situation
tuning
Room,
in this morning.
the only
this
way to
lovely
start
first
your
Friday,
day.
second Friday of the year, 2021, the 8th day. And we also want to appreciate everybody who is saying hello to us online and saying that they are tuned in. Mwangi Waibaki. Mwangi Mwaibaki. So it was Mwai Kibaki, and then they decided, let's just make it one name.
Oh, that's a bit...
Mwaibaki.
Okay.
Aberdare sub-county is tuned in. Okeo Taye tuned in already from Rongo sub-county in Migori County. He says he loves the show, and we love you too as well. Thank you very much for tuning in. So, Siti, warn us about today's love.
Eric, you know, it is a good thing that we are speaking in a language that was not originally ours. So we can make all sorts of excuses when we are misunderstood. One who loves you warns you. Not one who warns you loves you. One who loves you warns you.
Okay.
If they love you, they will warn you. Not if they warn you, they will love you.
Okay.
If they warn you, they love you.
If they warn you, they're telling you to take a little more care.
So that means they love you.
Yeah. I would actually twist that proverb around.
Please.
You see, because the Ugandans were saying it in their whatever language, and then the Mzungu took it. One who warns you loves you.
You know, in many, many languages, you'll find...
One who loves you warns you.
I think you get the message. Now, if you wish to
Which
twist
one?
it...
Which message resonates with you? One who loves you warns you. One who warns you loves you.
Both now.
Saying what?
It's the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
But at the end of the day, they love you, and that's why they're warning you.
You think so?
I know. Or they're warning you, look, I'm warning you.
I love you.
I'm loving you.
Good grief.
This one is a tough one.
It's a simple one.
Mm-hmm. It's a simple one, eh?
It's a simple one.
Okay.
Yes. And the permeations are good. Let it go this way, let it go that way.
Or the other way.
Let it go the other way.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're
good.
Okay. So we were talking about leadership, and you wanted us to get into the depth of discussing leadership.
Well, whenever we talk of leadership, we think it is exactly the same thing as positions of authority. But over time, and even if you look at the field of academia, for several decades now, it has been understood very, very clearly, and that is why many learning institutions, rather of higher learning, are awash with courses that deal with nothing but leadership. Because it's long been understood that the fact that someone is in a position of authority does not necessarily mean that they are good leaders, or that they even understand what the tenets of good leadership is, or even how to administer good leadership. They may have good intentions, but when it comes to actually putting into practice the sort of qualities that are required for leadership to actually take place and take root, they may be deficient because perhaps they actually simply don't know. Or what they know is inadequate. Now, to understand this, just look at any political process. I'm starting with the political because it's where most examples emanate from, because it's what's in the public eye on a daily basis. We believe that when we go to an election, we are electing leaders. Are we? In reality, we are electing political players who have presented themselves as people who are able to lead and to bring about the sort of changes which, read again, leadership, that we require to make our lives better. It's usually to make our lives better. But if you listen to the constant tirade that we hear and the things that we ourselves say about the people who represent this sort of leadership and whom we elect and vote for, is that leadership is wanting, meaning it doesn't quite meet the mark that we expected. So the question is it that they do not know how to lead, or is it that they were never really good leaders to begin with, or they were inadequately prepared? We've looked at this in reference to the county governors in this country and asked the people who were elected, political leaders who were elected, were they up to the task? Is it that they were given roles and responsibilities that are beyond their capacity? Or is it that their style of leadership, as they understood it from wherever they had come from, was inadequate for the task that was required as governor? And we ask the same of even the president or the deputy or anyone who is in a position of authority. Is the individual up to the task? And if it's a task, then this task of not political authority, political positions, but leadership, the ability to ensure that you translate the needs of the people into practices and things that, or activities and processes that guarantee that these things that they consider important actually get to them. Are they able to do this? Now, if you take this and even go back to the heart and soul of issues and you look about at the religious leaders, again the same questions arise. Quite aside from spiritual nourishment, there is the social aspect of leadership within our church system or religious system, which is supposed to be to stand for the rights of the individuals. And you would ask, when you look at our religious leaders, have we seen this particular role being played out to the full, them being able to actually stand up to the rights of the people? Or has this been wanting? Because when they do that, then the role of being moral superintendents and policemen comes into play, because they prick your conscience and keep pointing out and saying what you're doing is not right, what you're doing should be. But when they are silent, they might as well comply, they might as well be complicit to the very things that we say. So, leadership and what it entails
and political authority are different.
They're completely different.
You know what? I actually agree with you. And I think that in the instances where we have political leaders in this country, those are accidental. They are accidental because that's not what the voter was voting for.
No.
And the reason I'm saying that is, now that you bring out the issue of, when the person is presenting themselves to you for your vote and your consideration, the consideration that you're making so that you elect them, what is it that makes you choose person A versus person B, right? Is it because they showed you that they actually have the capacity to lead? Is it because they came and told you, know what, I'd like us to move from this point to that point, and that's where you wanted to go and you felt that this is the person who's going to make my life better? Or is it because you just looked at it and you just thought, okay, so this is the political speak, it's a political season, and this is what we expect to do, and therefore we're going to do this? And let me go ahead and justify why I'm asking those questions. Many times when you have a conversation about, but cities, you vie for a seat. Ask very many people, they tell you, I can't, but let me do what I can do here at the local level. If I get into politics is dirty, politics is a dirty game, politics is for rough people, the political game is rough. And if you ask the people, as they are considering candidates, this guy is soft, banner. No, this guy is too good. This one can't. The person that we want to hear is the one who comes and talks to us this way. So the yardstick that we use to elect people is not leadership.
No. We think it is, but it isn't.
Not leadership. We actually go to elect people who have that political
appeal,
which is not necessarily that they are capable or have demonstrated any capacity to lead. So we end up with accidental leaders once in a while, here and there, and we vote them out anyway. So they're like, it's okay. Yeah, he was doing something, but now, surely. What is that?
So we're saying that leadership is not the focus. It probably would border on hypocritical then, if we come later and say that this person actually has not demonstrated the attributes of a leader. But guess what? When you were voting them in, you were not voting in a leader. You
No,
were
you're
voting in
not.
somebody who maybe, number one, you thought could do a couple of favors down the way, somebody who you thought would fill a political space, and then they operate through that. But you were actually not, and I like what you said, you were not actually bringing somebody in who was going to then translate the needs of the people in a manner in which things like development would come out to reality. That's not what you were doing. That's not what your intention was. And very few times do you deliver a result that is different from the intention that you imputed. It would be very difficult to say, I voted in somebody who was going to maybe do me a few favors, and then you hope that later down the road, you would have a leader, like abracadabra, here's a leader.
Yep.
No, it doesn't work like that. You get garbage in, garbage out. You get what you put in, right? You don't put in the work, you're going to get lackluster performance. So when you talk
see
about
several
leadership,
people coming to you.
ask for what you want. You put in what you want. If you're looking for somebody who is going to come out later and lead, if you're looking for somebody who's going to come out and translate your needs in a way that is clear, that is well thought out, that is transparent, that is laced with integrity, that is what you're going to get. But if that's not what your intention was, it'd be very difficult to come out later and say our leaders actually are very poor. But who did you put?
You know, that's on a day-to-day basis. But leaders also need to be almost prophetic in this sense. I'm using the word prophetic in this sense. They need to be able to see the future. As in, they need to be able to understand that when we take these steps, where we are going to is this. And when we get there, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
And now the leadership skills and the ability is seen in what they do in marshalling the people together so that they start that journey. Now, if you listen to the mantra that was spoken of at our independence, the things we wanted to get rid of, that was leadership in words. We want to get rid of this, we want to get rid of this, we want to make sure we get this. That was leadership in words. And to get there now, leadership in operation, this is what we are going to do. Now, one of the things that was done was the Africanization process. And we had a sessional paper number 10, which told us that there is something we are going to use as we bring about this to pass. It's called African socialism. We are not going to go through these capitalistic notions that people have. No. We are going to bring in the cultural norms that we as Africans have, and we're going to put it in an economic forum so that we are able to do our thing and move our people forward. And you set things in place. And to understand that that was leadership, look at the institutions that were set up. You know, people hear of ICDC and they think of Centum and they think of, that thing was so futuristic. This was a setup, Industrial and Commercial Development Authority. It was a government body. This is where now the government set itself up to do business and to set up industry. You hear of Uchumi, it was part of ICDC. They were invested in hotels. There's nothing they were not invested in. And why? To grow the economy. Believe me, that story goes on and on and on. Now, leadership is in seeing what needed to be done and doing it. Then came Kenya Industrial Estates. You know, we talk of SMEs now. That's the term we use. That particular outfit was intended to ensure that people who want to set up small industries, small commercial enterprises, had a way of going to these people and ensuring that they had the money. Believe me. And they even set up estates right around the country to do this. Now, where leadership failed was not in starting it, but those who then took over the continuation of the same. Remember, now you've heard this, people calling in and talking about this. Mahathir Mohamad, the Malaysian leader, who is renowned and talked about, Lee, the Singaporean leader who talked about, they didn't send emissaries to Kenya, they came to Kenya. And these things that we had set in paper and were trying to operationalize, some of the things that later influenced the way they did things, they saw went implemented fully. And the countries moved from just being some backwater country, middling in years and talking about some small farming activities into what they are, commercial centers plus agricultural centers. But the citizenry were now able to enjoy a certain level of livelihood that they couldn't before. Leadership.
But you know what I've seen now? That we can be philosophical about this leadership talk. But the truth of the matter is, and there are examples the world over, replete, the leadership that is going to gain results, that people will talk about, given the examples that you have just now, is leadership that is not just in mind, but is also in deed, that is implemented and is dictated. Because if you want to lead and then suggest to people what they want to do, guess what? They're not going to do it. Somewhere along the line, these responsibilities will fall. But the leader who will be most remembered is not the one who is just going to come and philosophize. It is the one who is going to make sure that something is actually done. It is the one who is going to insist that things are done. It is the person who is going to say, yes, this is what I think. You agree with me? Yes, let's go ahead and do it. And insist that it is done, whether you like it or not. Am I saying that a dictator is necessary in some cases? Absolutely.
Actually, not. It's isn't even dictatorship. It's called leadership.
It's leadership.
That's leadership. It's not dictatorship. It's leadership.
Many people will say that you're dictating how it should be done, and I'm saying it's absolutely necessary because we've seen many examples where it's a suggestion. Okay, let's try and do this, and this is what I've said from my desk. This is what I say needs to be done. Then it's left there. But I'm saying that in order for it to work, in order for you to come down now the lanes of history and say, we had a leader who made things happen. This is the person who's not going to sit back and wait for you to decide if you want to do something.
Yep.
It's somebody who's going to follow through and insist that it is done, whether you like it or not.
Actually, how they do it is because they then have people who are like-minded. Because it's not as though they do it alone.
There's a power of persuasion.
Yes.
Absolutely.
They have people with whom they work. If you talk about the Singaporean leader, the legendary Singaporean, he had people he worked with and they knew, not him, they knew this is what we want to do. And when they were in a position of leadership, they set these things in motion.
But guess what they also did? For the individuals or groups of people, the little cabals who were against this grain, what did they do? They got rid of them. They got rid of them. And many would say that they did not like this person. And why did they not like them? Because they were insisting that things be done in a certain way.
Yeah.
That they followed through on what promises that they actually made. And if it goes against the grain of what people did not like, guess what? You will go.
You will go.
Yeah.
We're going to do a break shortly, but before we do that, let's hear from Abdallah, who's calling in from Nairobi. And we'll encourage you also to participate in the conversation. 0719 012 600. Abdallah, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you, Spice Team?
Very well, thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. So I'd like to actually give my contribution in regards to leadership.
Yes.
So what we need to understand is that Kenyans have a problem. And the problem is that we like euphoria. We like euphoria. Like, I like what City Moga has said. As Kenyans, we should actually try and get good leaders. But the problem is, where do we get these leaders? We seem to be recycling the same old and used leadership. Then we come back and complain again. We start saying, so-and-so, we've elected him for the past 10, 20 years. He has done nothing.
Yeah.
And the problem is that the first thing that we should ensure that either the government or the civic society should do is that they should try and empower people in regards to civic education. Civic education is very important. But the next question is, how will you empower civic education while people are on a hungry stomach? That's another key question.
True.
We have very good points, but how will you give people civic education when they have a hungry stomach? This is the reason that when a politician goes to your area, they'll give 1,500, 2,000 shillings, then you end up voting for them based on your stomach. So we should try and give people jobs. Once you empower people, people will actually have their own mind. Even I'll give a good example. Right now, if I ask you who's your area chief, you don't know. Who's your councillor or the county representative,
MCA.
you don't know. Because why? You wake up in the morning, go to work, come back in the evening, you look after your family, you eat, you sleep. That's the cycle. But a person who actually wakes up in the morning, doesn't have anything to do, he or she will actually think, oh, so-and-so is coming, or so-and-so is going to a particular event. Let me go there, pick some money, then go back.
But
I'll give a good example.
Abdallah, as you say that, there's still the issue of there's all that euphoria and the reason why you vote and the reason why then you would say that people who are hungry are going to make a decision based on euphoria. But a leader would show, would be able to emerge and show them that this is the direction to take. And they do not vote for this person because of that euphoria of I was given 50 bob, but because of the hope that they've been sold, because of the ideals that they've been sold. I can see clearly, if I have this person as my leader, we're going to get out of this situation.
Okay, I'll give you an example. I actually come from Mombasa. I was born and bred in Mombasa. Leave alone the current crop of leaders that we have. Let's go back 15 years ago. We used to have able, strong leaders who used to guide us. Leave alone the current leaders. These leaders, even we don't ask them. They should even go home even today. We used to have the likes of Karita Maita, Ramazan Kajembe, Sharif Nasir. Those were the leaders whom, when they actually stood up and they said, costs, we need A, B, C, D. The government, by then, which was the Moi government, used to listen and used to actually heed to whatever they want. But right now, it seems like everyone, whoever comes in with a good intention, at the end of the day, the higher ups will actually make a phone call, hey, we want you to do this and this and this and this. So you can come in with a good intention, but if you do not stick to it, no matter what happens, you seem to be diverted. So that's also another key issue, which in my opinion, whoever is going to be elected, they should actually have their own moral duty. Despite my party position, I should have gone to parliament or have gone in this particular leadership. I want my people to have ABCD. I should actually stick to it.
I hear you, Abdallah.
Only person comes here. So that's my own view.
Thank you, Abdallah. That's Abdallah in Nairobi. Let's cross over to California, USA, San Diego. Jeff, good morning. Well, is it morning for you, really?
Good morning, Latif.
How are you, Jeff?
Good morning, Latif. Mzuri sana. Habari yenu?
Salama.
Good morning, Latif. Habari ya asubuhi nyenyete. Amjambo yote.
Hatujambo.
Good morning. Good morning.
Jeff, I think you have an issue because of the line that you're using. I think first you need to switch off your stream so we'll be able to hear you. And Sarah, our producer, is going to be able to sort you out in that. Tijin in Utawala, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm fine.
Talk to us.
Let me give my view on this leadership thing.
Yep.
As a leader and as a party leader, what I believe, there has been a disconnect between leadership and political leaders. And I believe it is the role of, especially you see the political parties in this country, present over 90% of leaders to the people to elect during elections. But the question is that the political parties in this country do not have the internal mechanism where they can convert that Makanga guy to a leader, which means they don't have a leadership training platform whereby they can convert their aspirants to leaders. And this goes along with either training them on servant leadership or either converting them to the principle-based leadership. Because we realize that they say politics without principles is one of the deadly sins. But principles come out of training, you see. So we are lacking leadership, especially in the political field, because the political parties have not invested a lot on leadership, either as partnering with organizations that can train their aspirants to leaders, while they are only focusing on you pay your registration fee or nomination fee, become a candidate, when you present such a person to the people. So me, myself, as a party leader, I'm trying in my party, for example, we have a whole group of what we call a leadership academy.
Right.
Whereby we can convert people who are aspiring to be political leaders to sort of a school of thought, whereby all of them can graduate from the same school of leadership, so that we can monitor their leadership and we can be assured that the people we present to our electorate are leaders indeed.
Actually, that's a very good idea. And remind us your party again, Tijen.
My party is called Accountability and Transparency Party, and I'm doing the launch tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. Accountability and Transparency Party.
Yes.
Okay, so you already have a program on how to groom leaders, how to train people to become leaders.
Yeah, I already have that program. In fact, it's part of my party constitution, and I'm trying to look for now partners or organizations who are dealing with those leadership to come on board and they help me train these people and convert them to leaders that this country requires, this country needs.
Yeah, we'll actually invite you again, Tijin, so we can have more conversations on exactly what you want to do with the political party, why you decided you want to go a different political route, and then what you stand for as a political party. We thank you very much for calling in this morning and every morning when you call.
Thank you.
Asante sana, Tijin. Let's cross over again now to San Diego and see our friend Jeff. Jeff, hello.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I hope you guys are well. I wanted to follow up with what Siti Muga was saying. Some of us who have been around for a long time understand what ICDC was meant to be. And as people change, that there used to be Kikomi, you know. These were programs that the government started long time ago to be run and to be able to produce things for Kenyans and other. There are many others. But since they were given to incompetent fellows to run these agencies, they just are known by name, but they don't produce nothing. They don't produce anything to help the Kenyans that it was created for.
Do you think the idea
so
is still...
I was just going to agree with
Jeff, I want to ask you, do you think the idea is still relevant at this point, for example, to have one giant umbrella body that then seeks to invest in SMEs, seeks to grow industry? Is that idea still relevant at this point? Can we revive it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And especially now that there are so many young people who don't have jobs. Yeah. He mentioned KIE, Kenya Industrial Estates. Ask young people if they know anything called the KIE. Those who are looking for it, say that they don't know.
Yeah.
So the people that have been given the privilege to run these organizations, that were the vision that they had in the beginning was to help Kenyans.
Yeah.
It's been run down just because of incompetence.
That's true.
That's all I'm speaking from.
That's true.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Have a lovely day in San Diego.
Yeah. You guys, it's at night. It's around, it's going to 8 p.m.
Then have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
And a good night.
You have a wonderful day, guys.
Thank you.
28 minutes after 7 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation. We're taking your calls on this conversation about leadership. What is it that makes one a leader? Do we elect leaders when we are going to the ballot, or do we elect politicians? And Siti Muga is pushing the agenda today and saying that there's a difference between leadership and political authority. There's a difference there. So what do we have in our political offices today? Do we have leaders, or do we have politicians who have some sort of authority from the ballot? 7:30, let's see weather and traffic, and then continue the conversation. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. They are smart, they are funny, and unfailingly entertaining. They are the adults in the room, and they are here to help you be the best adult you can be.
Just to be very honest with each other here, not all of us are going to get tall, dark, and handsome. Not all of us are going to get 0.5s or chotaras. Some of us have to learn the short guys. Some of us have to learn those many people. Some of us have to learn older men or younger men.
Spice.
Don't ask your partner if he or she enjoyed it. I think the approach should always be, if she's enjoyed the journey, she will let you know. She'll tell you, hey, mazee, your bus is big. Mi sijaipanda basi kubwa kama hii. Juu hata hii basi, hiyo mafuta tulieka yote, imetuleta hapa vizuri. Hii basi iko na nguvu. Hii basi iko na nguvu.
Spice.
Now into a relationship, it becomes like you've stopped your life, and then now me, I am your life. You see, like, what happened to your life? What happened to you? What did you used to do?
And women are guilty about that.
Is your wife listening to the show?
Whether it is matters of the heart. The weather with Spice
All right,
FM.
so the sun is high in sky this morning. In Nairobi, clear conditions at 17 degrees. We're going to highs of 26 today. Come back down to lows of 16. 16 is what it is in Nakuru. Highs of 25 today. 25 will also be the high in Nyeri, where it's mostly cloudy. At 12 this morning, clear skies ruled Eldoret skies at 11. Highs of 24. Partly sunny conditions in Kisumu at 21. We'll see highs of 27. 28 will be the high in Kakamega, where sunny conditions also at 19 degrees this morning. It's mostly sunny in Mombasa at 24. Highs of 31. Highs of 28 in Malindi, sunny conditions at 20 at the moment, coming down to lows of 17 today. It's mostly clear in Kampala, steeping out of Kenya. Highs of 28 and lows of 20. In Dar es Salaam, it's cloudy at 27, highs of 32. And cloudy conditions in Johannesburg at 17 degrees with highs of 23. We're looking at light rain in Lagos at 25 with highs of 32 and lows of 24, and also continues to rain and temperatures dropping ever so slightly in Kinshasa at 22 degrees. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 28.
87.9 Spice FM, Mombasa. Traffic.
Every day was like this. It's not too bad today wherever you look at it. Be able to get where you're going without too much of a hassle. We're looking at coming off Figure Road, looking pretty good, as well as Mombasa Road. The usual bumps along the way we expect because of the construction going on there with the expressway. Coming out of Westlands, also looking pretty good. Outbound, however, just seems to be building up ever so slowly, heading towards Limuru. And so that builds up just a little bit. Uhuru Highway clogging up a bit as well as you get into the CBD right after the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. But apart from that, it looks like everywhere is flowing. It slows down in some areas, but nothing like a bumper-to-bumper situation just yet. We'll keep an eye on that for you, however. Spice of MKE, get in touch on Twitter or text on 40127.
Spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The populace don't get it too, because you're going to complain about somebody and then you will elect, if not the same person, a replica or a worse person. So we lose that right to complain. I have heard people talking in the streets and in social places. Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period. If there's a better thief, allow the village thief in your village. And if you live in town, in your neighborhood, to take away just something small from you. That chicken that may be in your compound, that came from, if you have not rearing chicken, it could have come with a friend from up country. Allow them to steal it, cook it, and after they've eaten the meat, to make soup for you with the lower legs, not the
you know. With NARC Kenya Party leader Martha Karua. She was talking about what then we consider. So as long as this person has done something for me, then they're okay, they're good. And the question we're asking this morning is, what do Kenyans consider when electing leaders? Because when you go to the election every 5 years, or even in a by-election like is happening in a couple of weeks across the country, people are supposed to be electing leaders. But do we elect leaders, or do we elect those people who come and present themselves to us as having the best gift of the gab, and they have the best proximity to a political powerhouse somewhere? Are they very well aligned to somebody that we admire politically? And then we decide that we're going to elect them so that they can bring that person to us in the next harambe at the church or the next funeral in our neighborhood. Some of the comments that are coming in on social media. Becky Odhiambo says, we elect leaders who are mostly corrupt, tribalistic, nepotistic, and entrepreneurial.
That nepo, start again?
Nepotistic.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes. Carry on.
And entrepreneurs who have no regard for Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya, no regard for Kenyan systems and structures in place just because we are nchi ya kitu kidogo. So the whole thing here is you're just looking at how much am I getting from this person. It doesn't matter whether they are a dog, a thief, a hyena. We're just going to, as long as they've given me something, that's the reason I'm going to elect them. Vikobani Finance has
Tribe, the Mtuwetu syndrome. Number 2, money, spill the cash, get the votes. That's what people are looking at. Unfortunately, it sounds crazy, but that's what people look at, essentially. Who can make the most noise? But then you want to come back and ask that, well, we don't have good leaders. We have bad leadership in this country or countries around the world. But what did you put in? You can't have ingredients and then hope, you can't have poor ingredients and then hope to have a 5-star meal. It doesn't work like that. And then come later and make demands whereby you didn't put in the work in the first place. And I think that the leadership, look, if there's a leadership crisis, it's not just by the individuals who stand to be on the receiving end of the pointing finger. It's everybody who was involved in the process. And I do think that, look, everybody says, well, there's nobody to choose from. There are no good leaders. There's nobody. I think we deliberately ignore the individuals who could actually come in and do something. And because they don't have the popular vote, because they don't have the popular position, maybe they don't have the clout or the bravado that is needed to get into the political space, because we've given politics the seat that proper leadership should actually inhabit. That's why we have the problems that we have. And that's why we can come back later and say, actually, you know what, we're in a leadership crisis. But really, is that crisis not manufactured by the people who make the choice? I would say that they have a great contribution to play.
So indeed, we have actually have a crisis.
Role here. So there's a crisis. But it is not. But the crisis is not because the supposed leaders are not doing their job. The crisis also comes about because those who select them also are not putting in the right ingredients either.
We don't understand what leadership is.
The truth of the matter is that once you have a decision to make, but most times we make the choice that is popular as opposed to the choice that is right.
It's like our understanding of leadership is at a crossroads, where you want a combo. You want someone who entertains you on a rostrum. You want someone who's aligned to the party of your choice and the leader of your choice.
Give you a handout.
You want a person who goes to your religious outfit every Sunday without fail. You want someone whose family background you understand. And at the same time, you want this person to be able to translate the needs of this community that they are seeking to represent in a way that they can process the resources that they have around them and at their disposal as a leader to the benefit of these people. That combination is difficult to come by. It's very difficult to come by because if it is, you are subjecting it to an election, you are subjecting it to politics. And the moment you do that, there is not only a great compromise, but you will deplete the very things that you want. Because when it comes to the ability to do these things, it doesn't necessarily go with the other qualities that you want. Not necessarily. So, when you don't understand that the two are not the same, now this is where a little bit of magic thinking comes into our minds as voters. You feel that the moment someone is elected, then that election needs to translate their will and their being and their intention and their processes they want to put in place into these things. It doesn't. And it won't. And it won't because partly sometimes this person whom you elect, lovely as they may be, entertaining as they may be, they don't have the ability.
Truth, if you want to be very honest about
it.
They
don't. You're expecting them to do things they can't do. And even if you wait for 100 years, they won't do. And yet there are people who can do and would do it easily. But they don't meet the other qualities that you like. They don't entertain.
They don't have the charisma.
They don't belong to this political outfit that you like. They don't align to the person you like. But the things that you want done, they can do them.
Yeah.
They can do them very, very, very well with very minimum fanfare, but they'll get them done.
So it's about us actually redefining the job description.
Yes,
and the scope of work of the person that we want to elect.
Or actually redefining and being extremely honest about what you want. Because if you come to terms with what you want, is that what you want? Do you want a constant situation of complaint? Do you want a constant situation where things are not going right? Or do you actually want things to get better? If you really, really do, If you're fed up enough with the way things have been going, trust me, that person that you're talking about, it doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter if they lived in a hole for all their lives. It doesn't matter if they came from a poor background. It doesn't matter if they have currently a lackluster life. It doesn't matter. Once you get to the point that you realize, actually, this is what we really want, a collective agreement as people, that this is what we really want, let me tell you, that decision to put an individual in a position who is actually going to lead, and not just lead, but will get the job done, it will be very easy to make.
I think if you actually went around and you did a survey, you'd find out that people know what they want. In terms of defining need, we know this is our need, this is what we need, these are our aspirations, this is what we want to do. Now, the disconnect, in my opinion, comes between at the point where you are advertising for a job. Okay, there are very many job adverts in the papers today, you'll see. So one day is the need, so you scope your need, and then the job description of the person who is required to be able to do this, and the competencies. You have built a house, you are at the point where you want to do electrical wiring. And so you say, you know what, guys, I need electricity in my house. People come in. Now, you have not asked yourself, so what qualities does the person who is going to fix this problem need to have? You just say, let people come. All you're thinking of is as long as somebody is wearing an overall, okay, and they're carrying something that looks like a toolbox, that person is good enough. So a plumber comes, a carpenter comes, all of them are wearing overalls and carrying a toolbox. You look at the one that now looks like, they're talking well, they maybe speak your language, they have good complexion, tall, dark, and handsome, as Barbara Mbaka would say. You now decide on absolutely everything apart from the most important quality and qualification, which is, are you an electrician? That, you need power, but you also do not exactly focus on what you need to do to interview and give the job to the right person. So you get the plumber, and then you start complaining, sasa huyu mtu, siku 10 sasa sijasina stima kwa nyumba. The guy is dealing with pipes, and you expect him to sort out your electricity.
Let me give an example of something that people think can't be done and yet has been actually done in this country. Igembe South constituency has an MP by the name of John Paul Mwirigi. He was elected to parliament at the age of 23. Now, he did many things, but among the things that this gentleman did within his means, he started buying books. The books these revision books for exams and what have you, he bought them and gave them to schools within his area. This was part of his campaign strategy, I believe. Now, what happened over time is that results improved tremendously as a result of these efforts. So, in this country, that means? Students who previously would not have thought of going to university now actually go to university. Now, there are many other things that this gentleman has done. He is not the only one who has brought about changes that we consider monumental. Let's bring it back to a time in 2002 when one Emilio Mwai Kibaki was elected president of this country. Now, he did something that I have never seen done before. For 1 year, he actually suspended huge capital developments. Development projects suspended. But he sorted out the tax system so that we were now able, this ETR we take for granted. It came into being during that period in time. Structural planning, so that our tax system was aligned and you could more or less figure out what we anticipate, what we are earning, where it is. No confusion about the way it's going. Then, this roadmap of what now to do for the country began. And people talk, and we talk, and I have talked about it for the longest time, developments that we have seen. Now, I want to give another example of one Honorable Raila Odinga. Okay, he is known for his politicking. And look at the political leadership. For instance, he did something that was hitherto thought unthinkable. In our political sphere, it has always been considered that Luo Nyanza and Central Kenya are at loggerheads and they don't see eye to eye. From the time when Raila's father and Jaramogi and Jomo Kenyatta disagreed, he did something unthinkable in that he actually joined KANU and joined the party of the man who had actually detained him for the years he was detained, Unthinkable. But it ushered in an era where the things that were considered unthinkable could take place. Then we saw a handshake in 2007. The Kalenjin community and the community of central Kenya, because of the atrocities that were committed, it was assumed these two cannot get along. We saw a handshake. Another introduction of things that are impossible but were possible came into being. Then we had the third handshake. You see, even when you talk of leadership, political leadership, if it's good, can lead to things which are actually good. They can set the background to it, within which someone can actually work. But if you look at the sort of leadership that has been popularized and has been made popular and which people want to consume, that one very rarely does anything positive that helps alleviate the livelihood of the citizen. It very rarely does. It's like if it does, it's accidental. All it does is it creates more of the same thing, more politics, more words, and in many cases, more friction.
And that's where our problem then, starts and ends. Because it's about the people that we elect into office and expecting that all of them will take their position of leadership and authority as a moral responsibility.
They don't.
And yet, that's not what we told them.
But can you be committed?
So they go in there, and as long as they're doing something that will, by and large, if this is going to be beneficial to me, and then you you enjoy the benefit as a result of what me enjoying my benefit, fine. There are many leaders actually who you look back at their journey to the position of leadership or the position of political leadership, and what they had done, what they have done in the community, and you see there's a reason why this person was elected. There's more to it. There's more to the tribe, the party, the handouts. Those came into play, but then there's something else that they also did. But also, you see, that's where now the political conmen ride. Because they know, if I just do one or two things here, I buy books.
I will be seen as...
I buy books, I donate, balls and uniforms to the youth, and I start a tournament like this, I do this and the other, I'll be seen as somebody who is really concerned about the community. But if you just open down the video, beneath that you can just see this is a thug. It's a crook. And yet, the people who are true leaders, the people who just do those small things from a community, from calling people together and telling them, you know what, guys, let's put up a house for this elderly person. Let's do this in our church. Let's do this for our school. Let's do this and the other in the community. That person comes and says, now, can you guys make me MCA?
So why then why is the selection made for the thug and the crook? Because it can be seen, right? It can be seen. This person is a thug, is a crook. The way in which they operate is just if anything, it borders on abhorrence. So why make the selection of those?
It's an interesting discussion. Remember, people may be silent and they may seem not to know what's going on, but they do. Now, remember we've talked about a deficit of trust that exists between the government and the people. Now, what do you how do you think it plays out? It plays out in people getting to believe that the government doesn't do anything that will benefit them. And yet this is not true. There are many things that the government does that is actually very useful. It's just that it isn't highlighted, it isn't talked about, but it's there. Now, when you do not have faith in government projects, because government projects by their nature are long-term, immediacy becomes the mantra. Now, the conman that Eric is referring to understands immediacy. Hapa na hapa, sahi, right now. Tomorrow, a different story, but for now, this is what I'm giving you, take it. For now, there's this token project I've done. For now, they understand it. And it appeals because the immediacy is something that is easily understood. When you can't believe in someone who presents the future, you will not believe in that future that they're talking about. You won't. And you feel, no, this is a con. And why? Your lived experience is that those promises have been made and you've seen all too often they're not kept.
Okay, but that is giving up too soon.
I'm still on that thing that you can see it's a thug.
Yep.
Yes, you can.
Short of them wearing the beanie on their head with the little two holes in the eyes, they have shown you that they are a thug.
Yes.
Why still select this individual? You find that the same individual will come back, say, please give me your vote and give. Why? I'm still on that. Why, if you know what you want? Why, if you've seen the effects of bad leadership previously? Why, if you've seen the effects of putting an essential thug into office, why would you select or elect that same individual over and over again. Why? It doesn't make sense. It beats
Look at
beats logic absolutely.
Yes, it does. But
why
look
do
at,
it?
Look at the other
and then come and
qualities.
complain later. Isn't
No.
it crazy?
Look
I
at
think
the
it
other
is.
qualities that we consider when we are electing leaders. The party they belong to, the affiliation, the ability to entertain when they're on the rostrum, the community they come from, all the other qualities. Now, even if they're a thug, that will be put aside. We have that capacity for saying, it doesn't really matter. Let us just.
So it's hypocritical.
We are human beings, and hypocrisy is not a term that we relate to plants. It's to human beings.
Yeah, sure. So that's what I'm saying then. You've not gotten to the point whereby you've really just had it.
No.
You haven't.
No.
And you haven't. And you can't then come. You can't come and complain later if you know this individual or these individuals are thugs.
No,
And
I
you
want
can't
to
say that
disagree. I want to disagree that we haven't gotten to that
You
point.
can't say the system is so tight-webbed that you'll say, well, this is how it is. This is the practice. This is how it has been done.
I want
and
to
so
disagree.
then because of that, well, we're just going to keep making these decisions in this manner.
Why I'm saying I want to disagree is I want to disagree that we haven't gotten to the point where we have really had it. You've gotten to a point where you've had it. It's just that you do not have the way out. It's just that you haven't sat down to actually internalize and think. So the reason why I'm here, the reason why I'm seeing what I'm seeing is because of a decision that I made. But you've had it. That's why you keep changing that leader. That's why you keep changing that conman. But the method of changing the conman is what you're having a problem with. So you haven't seen
You're
it
using
yet.
what's at your disposal, and
Yes.
that's the election, and you are changing.
But taking one conman and putting him over here and bringing another one and putting him in that position.
Yeah, because you've had it. Now, the reason why you're changing this person is because you've had it.
Yes.
The problem here is that you haven't come back to decide and see that you are the problem. You've had it with that person instead of having it with you.
It's a combination of factors, if you ask me.
That's why
You've
if you
also
look at all
not-
these
there's
comments that are
even
coming
terms
in.
of even-
Tribe party handouts. Loudmouths with the worst insults. Mannerless characters. We don't care to think what will my mother think. That's tired Kenyan Becky who's saying that. Okay, is the one who's saying we consider tribe party handouts. We've seen those comments of tribe party handout over and over and over again.
Plays out all the time.
Yeah, you're just looking at, okay, Uyum even if you ask people here today, what has this person done? Uyum to alienda Nairobi, they do nothing. We don't see them here. They have done nothing. They have not done anything on the ground here. You've had it with the person. So you remove them. In fact, you cannot even wait for that election to take place. No, this person, Aende. I've had it with leaders who are coming to lie to me. And then,
They come and lie to you again. And then
because they're conmen, they'll come and tell you the same sweet things, and you look at this person now, you're looking, okay, the other guy was giving me 50, this one is giving me 100. Maybe this one is better. The problem is not that person. You've had it with the wrong person. You should have it with you. Get pissed off with yourself.
If we bring this discussion back to leadership, think of 2002, and the series of things that happened that one had not anticipated would happen, or let me talk about myself, I had not thought I would see happening. For instance, I didn't think I would ever see the day when commuters in Nairobi would tell matatus and their owners, folks, if you are not adhering to these norms, we will walk and you can keep your matatus. Now that is people, having been led, realize that the leadership is serious, so they do their bit.
Yep.
They don't put the matatus. What happened? They fell in line. They put on the uniform. Seatbelts were in those vehicles. They met a certain standard. All the things that were thought could not be done were done. They were done. The shocker, and this one I always have to talk about, because getting a passport in this country was an absolute nightmare. The issue of losing your ID, getting another one, that one went beyond it being a nightmare. It was a tedious process. Then comes a time when you have new leadership, and the first shock is you walk into the immigration and someone comes to greet you. Your mind said, okay, what does this person want?
Or rather, where am I?
Yes. Well, no, what does this person want? They ask you, sir, what is it that has brought you here? So you respond. And they say, no. For that, they take you through the process. And they even explain to you, if you have an emergency and you need a passport, say in a day, this is what you do. Shock, shock, shock. If you're renewing your passport, it was happening, and I was seeing it happening. And other people, when I told other people that, they told, are you sure? I said, why don't you go and experience it yourself? What am I saying? what I saw could have been done before. All you require is a leadership. Now, leadership is not just the individual at the top. The person sets the tone, and the people who operationalize these things have the same tone and the same intention. So you see it being carried out. You may have the interest, but if you don't have people who can carry it out, it won't be carried out.
Yeah. Which is also another quality of a good leader.
Yes.
You're able to rally people behind you. You're able to show people this is the direction we are taking. This is how we're going to get there. So people then see you and they believe you, and they want to do it for you. In fact, for a good leader, people will say, I will do it for this person.
So and so has said, let us do this.
I will do it. I don't want to disappoint them. In fact, you feel so bad when this person calls you and asks you, why didn't you do this? And you're feeling, oh God, I've let you down. Because you're the leader. If people call you and ask you, why aren't you doing this? And you're, then clearly that person has failed in the leadership bar, because they haven't got into that point yet. Becky is saying, you want to know a serious leader, check who their PA is. We have someone elected picking their drinking buddy as their PA. What do you think they'll be discussing? Do you think they'll be discussing development or the next drinking joint?
Well,
talk about leadership. So we are at this point now where we are seeing all these issues. Our healthcare system is looking like this. Our leadership is not just about sitting back and saying we shall do this or we shall not do the other. It is actually leadership. Leadership is saying, come, let's sit down. Let me explain to you why we have to do it this way. Let me get you on board. Let me hear what you have. Let's see how can we get to a middle ground.
Or tell them this is where I want us to get to. What do you think I need to do so that you can get on board?
Yeah, boss. That's leadership.
Not this is what I want to do, now you do it. This is what we want to do. And we need you. Now tell us, how do we go about this? When you talk about inclusivity, it's not the words. It's the actions that follow. That is what now will resonate that inclusivity that you're talking about. Yes. Public participation is not a word that you throw every time you want something done. No, it's something that you do. We were talking about vaccines yesterday. My friend, if you don't engage the public on this particular matter, it'll flop before it even begins.
It'll flop before it flips.
Yes. For sure. For sure.
And especially this particular one that is, everything about it is important. The timing for it, how fast you roll it out, it's all important. We have seen vaccination campaigns before, just like Professor Anzalo was telling us. We've seen the polio vaccination, we've seen the tetanus vaccination. We've seen these nationwide campaigns to vaccinate. And they take place.
And they take place successfully.
Very well, successfully. This particular one you're talking about now, everybody is alert and wondering, so are we getting this, are we not?
How are you going to go about it?
Yes.
Are you going to talk about it, or is it going to be shrouded in mystery? Are you going to say, they're 24, but that means 2 jabs per person, so only 12 minutes. And this is how we're going to start.
And you get it within, between the first jab and the second jab, within this number of days.
And if you are in this region, this is where you're going to get the job. If you're in this region, and on these dates.
It sounds simple, right?
It is simple, because we've had campaigns of that sort. When we were changing our banknotes, we had a similar campaign.
Maybe we should give Dr. Njoroge this job.
A very successful campaign, extremely successful.
Vaccination, give this job to Dr. Njoroge, Wallace Kantai, and the other people at the Central Bank of Kenya.
Let
Ministry
them
of Health.
Was that not a smooth operation, that one?
Yes.
You were told, you, and dates given, allowances given. It went smooth.
Let's go to the top of the hour. Good morning. It's now 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, so altering this, causing a bit of problems, trying to connect Jogo Road and then going towards Donholm as well. It's a bit of a clog up there. Trying to either go away or towards the CBD, in and outbound, causing a bit of a problem there. Mombasa Road looking pretty good this morning, getting where you're going this Friday morning, running errands, getting to business or work. That's not too bad either. Thika Road, inbound to CBD, slow. It's moving, but we don't have too many problems there. Coming around about 8 o'clock, we're still in the middle of traffic hour now. Doesn't look like much is going to stand in your way of getting where you're going on time. Remember, the construction continues all the way from Mombasa Road through to James Gishuru, in and outbound, especially around Westlands. Things going to slow down just a little bit this morning, but it shouldn't be too crazy. Let us know if it does get crazy. Spice FMKE on Twitter, 40127 by text.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
2.5 minutes after 8, this is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's a Situation Room, and we thank you very much for participating in the show this and every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. As we begin the hour, like we always do, today's proverb.
Yes, simple, straightforward, and to the point. One who loves you warns you.
I swear, that meaning of yours is still not sitting. When it comes out...
So somebody sees you going in the wrong direction, or somebody seeing danger lurking and doesn't warn you about it or give you a word of caution, then doesn't love you.
Yeah. To me, it's a syntax. It's the other way around. It's one who warns you loves you.
All right. So are you saying that if so...
It doesn't sound the same thing. What you say, one who loves you warns you, is like, so...
Okay.
Okay, so we just rearrange.
As the hyena told the stone, you have heard.
Akuonyaye anakupenda. Akupendaye atakuonya.
One. Onya. One.
Oh, got it. All right.
Nakupenda unajua.
What's onyo?
Onyo is warning.
Okay, got it.
Yep. Okay, so onyo kwa wakazi wa Nairobi, jiji la Nairobi. Tangazo.
Talking of onyo, for the longest time, I remember many gates. Those are the days before high rises and flats became the norm. There's always onyo. Mbwa kali.
And then some people even started writing ×4. Just know that there are 4 dogs.
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay, so for all the residents and voters of Nairobi City County Government, you know that the courts have halted the scheduled by-election that's supposed to take place next month, okay? Some more development. You will recall that when he was still governor, in January 2020, there was a Supreme Court advisory that had come out saying that a County Assembly of Nairobi received that this issue from the governor, and the governor had nominated a lady called Anne Kananu Mwenda as the nominee for the position of deputy governor in the Nairobi City County. In the 17th of February 2020, before the County Assembly had concluded the vetting of the said nominee, the High Court issued conservatory orders because one gentleman called Peter Odhiambo Agoro had gone to court arguing that the governor did not have the power to do this, to appoint or to nominate a deputy governor. That matter has been in court for a while. Now, earlier this year, just last week, this Mr. Peter Odhiambo Agoro went to court and applied to withdraw his case, his petition. And the court now has agreed to the withdrawal of this particular petition, with the judge saying, all right, I considered this person came and said, I was not being coerced. I've just decided that I no longer need to continue pursuing this. And therefore, the judge has allowed this matter to get out of the court records. Because of that, the clerk of the Nairobi County Assembly is issuing a public notice to the public and to the nominee who had been nominated by Mike Mbuvi Sonko, Ms. Anne Kananu Mwenda, that we are going to have a vetting exercise in the County Assembly on the 15th of January 2021. This is next week, where the MCAs of Nairobi County are therefore going to now continue with the vetting of this particular person to see whether she's suitable to become a deputy governor of Nairobi. You know what that happens? She becomes deputy governor, there's a vacancy in the office of governor, so she becomes governor of Nairobi City County Government, and that matter is put to rest like that. Just like Kiambu, you do not need to go into an election because there's a deputy governor who's now been sworn in accordance with the constitution and the law, and they now serve as governor for the remainder of the term. That's until August 2022. So therefore, if you look at this trajectory, if MCAs of Nairobi City County go and have this nomination next week, if the MCAs of Nairobi City County Assembly go ahead and actually approve the nomination of Ms. Anne Kananu Mwenda as Deputy Governor of Nairobi, then she will be sworn in as governor. She will become governor. Mr. Mutura will hand over. He'll become now just back to the Speaker of the County Assembly, and we'll have a substantive governor in Nairobi County for the next 2 years. 1.5 years. And the matter will be closed. The issue of whether people of Nairobi need to go in to be bothered with waking up one morning in February to go and pick somebody to become governor for just 1 year is put to rest.
Okay, so the objection to her nomination was in court.
Yes.
Now, this individual withdrew
his
objection
Yes.
just a couple of days ago.
Yes.
Now, by chance, or he realized that, okay,
Actually, it doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
It doesn't really matter. If the court has allowed him, whatever due diligence, whatever we may have thought of, all become a secondary issue. The fact is, he has withdrawn the case. And in my mind, the discussion we ought to be asking, when you withdraw a case, what then takes place? Does that appointment take effect? Or was the appointment dependent on the former governor still being governor?
No, it just means that the process can now carry on, because essentially the process was stopped by this objection and it went to court. So everything stops until this objection is now heard in court, and then we see if it's a plausible case or not. Okay. Now, that objection, essentially, this river is flowing, but you've put something to stop it. Now, you've removed that thing, so let the river continue flowing. That is why now next week they will go towards the vetting, which is the process and how it should have happened.
So all these wonderful people who have been gearing up to present themselves before the citizenry of Nairobi,
their time.
like myself, so that they can seek my vote,
You have wasted your time.
are not now going to present
the matter
themselves.
is not No, it's not concluded. We are assuming here that the county assembly is going
vet her and pass her.
is going to approve Ms. Anne Kananu Mwenda as suitable.
Yes.
To hold this office.
Yes.
All right.
It's a perspective that we must consider.
Yeah. In the event that happens, then, and barring any other objection or any other court order, then she becomes governor.
And essentially, these other individuals have wasted their time.
No, they haven't.
No. We now know people we didn't know before. I mean, I've read the list of people. Many of those people I've never heard of before in my life.
You could say that they have wasted their time for now, but you can also say that we hadn't even gotten into the proper campaign period. So just because they wanted to become governor, they still have an opportunity to serve. In 1.5 years, next year you can come back and say, you know, guys, I'd like to be the governor of Nairobi. The point here, though, and where I'm sort of stuck here is it a good thing that we say, let's save the money, let's save the trouble, let's save all these, chaos of going into a by-election for governor's seat in Nairobi, knowing exactly the kind of politics that was going to take place in this city for the next couple of weeks? Is it a good thing to just say good riddance? Let's actually now, let's hope, let's implore on our MCAs in Nairobi to actually approve her so that she can go into City Hall and run the county without this hullabaloo of an election? Or are we saying that the people of Nairobi have been denied a chance to elect a leader again? Now that the leader that they had elected, plus the leader that they had elected two people, Mike Sonko and Polycarp Igathe. None of them is in office today. So the person who basically takes over, if Anne Kananu is approved, is not the choice of the people. It's Mike Sonko's choice. People voted for Sonko. People voted for Igathe. Igathe left. Sonko has been removed through a constitutional process.
Sonko has been left.
Right. Sonko has lefted. So, should the people of Nairobi have been given a chance to elect somebody? Even if it's for 1 year. Yes, it's for 1 year, but let's elect. See, people of Matungu, is it called Matungu? That constituency?
Yes,
they are going to elect someone for 1 year. It's the same thing that should have happened in Nairobi. Let us be given a chance to elect our leader.
Indeed, but for members of parliament, the technicalities that surround the office of the governor don't exist when it comes. There is no speaker of the constituency assembly to be determined. There's no members of the constituency assembly. You only have them at the level of the county. So yes, the thinking and the principle, I agree, is correct. But I would raise the question, are you saying then that one cannot ascend to that seat on a technicality? Remember, you can. The Constitution actually allows for it.
Yep.
The fact that the Speaker is now acting governor tells you that it can happen. It can.
It can, but you see, just like you're saying, that technicality, especially when it comes to Speaker is just temporary, hold it for a period of time until the people elect somebody else.
Yes.
Okay? The other technicality that, and you're saying correctly, is in the event of a vacancy in the office of the deputy governor, then the governor is allowed to nominate somebody else, and the people's representative can vet this person, and then the person becomes the deputy governor. And the event then that the speaker exits the office, this person who was vetted and approved by the people's representative rises to become governor. So if we look at it technically, yes, the people of Nairobi will have chosen
But then,
Anne Mwenda as their governor through their representative.
But let me ask the question: does our constitution allow for that?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
The governor can actually appoint.
That was an advisory from the Supreme Court.
In the event
Supreme Court
that
said
there is no deputy governor, the governor then has the power to appoint and to nominate a new deputy governor.
Well, this lady is staring at the governor.
Just like the same way now we see in Nyeri, for example, the death of a governor occasioned the deputy governor to rise to governor, and occasioned the governor now to appoint a new deputy.
True.
The deputy governor of Nyeri County was not elected. Nope. The current deputy governor of Nyeri County was not elected. Was a nominee.
Wasn't on the ballot box.
Wasn't on the ballot box. Was a nominee of the then deputy who became governor. Was a nominee of the governor, and the assembly approved her after vetting her. Same thing is about to happen in Nairobi.
Well, this one is about to ascend to the highest seat in the county, isn't it?
It is. And what I'm saying is, I think the people of Nairobi should have been given a chance to directly elect someone. Or should be given a chance to directly elect someone. And come on.
So what you're saying is that if you elect on the ticket of the governor and you're the deputy, at least you went through the electoral process.
Yes.
So even if you become governor, okay.
It's okay.
But someone from the blues simply is nominated, has not gone through this difficult process of electioneering and being, the people of Nairobi haven't been given a choice to think about whether they want this person or not. Because of that technicality, the person becomes, actually, well then, this is where now the constitution becomes that animal that we like to refer to with reference to the law.
But if you want to place things on technicality, essentially you gave this individual, by the time you were electing them, you chose them, you then gave them the rights of thought and action. So at this point, in the event that there is no deputy governor and you're saying this person now can nominate for somebody to be appointed, essentially you handed over those powers to them when you voted them in. So,
and by extension also to the county assembly to vet.
So even if you're saying there should be another election because it should be our choice, guess what? Your choice was that you gave this individual who's still playing out those responsibilities by nominating someone. So it's still an extension of your choice when this person is making an additional choice.
Do you know, I'm about to say something a bit bizarre, but it comes to mind. Essentially, what we're saying is there's life after death.
Yeah.
The governor may not be there, but his appointee.
His appointee will be there.
Yes, is living on his or her legacy.
Yes.
Yes. And is living vicariously and making decisions still.
Well, in the case of Nairobi, for example, Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko is also still objecting to the withdrawal of this case by this gentleman. All right? So the governor...
He's objecting?
Yeah. He's like, but let me tell you something. When this matter was brought to court, around November last year, I revoked my nomination of this person.
Okay. Did they revoke the nomination?
That's what he claims through his lawyer.
So that one we now need to understand that he actually revoked the
So
nomination.
at this point, as we stand, the person who was elected by the voters of Nairobi, and the person and nominated Anne Mwenda as nominee for deputy governor, changed their mind. Some time back, they changed their mind about this person.
Something interesting is happening in this.
So you're going to have somebody who is going to be vetted and approved, but they are not currently, as we stand, they are not the choice of your governor, the person that you give 800,000
The governor
votes.
says. The governor says
that they changed their mind, and let's have an election in Nairobi.
Well, if you're
remove
going
all
to,
these
if
issues,
you're going to take that debate to its logical conclusion, then can we then say that Igade and his resignation did not really follow due process? Were the IEBC not supposed to have been elected?
There's that whole issue. There's that whole issue.
Well, yes, I'm asking the question
but
because
IEBC, on dint of the fact that when they were approached on the issue of Anne Mwenda, they actually gave Anne Mwenda the go-ahead. Okay, so as far as IEBC was concerned, then they acknowledged vacancy.
What is the procedure?
They acknowledged vacancy.
Since we're talking of technicalities here, did they acknowledge that Igade had formally left his position?
This is an argument that has been heard out there. It's not an argument that has been taken to court on whether Igade has resigned or not.
Yes.
Or it's not an argument that has actually been determined in court whether Igade resigned or not. All right? Whether the IEBC received the letter, who was supposed to have received the letter, should it have gone to IEBC, should it have gone to the governor or the county assembly speaker, who was supposed to have received it. The point here is, one, there's a governor who nominated somebody to be deputy, and a county assembly that was about to start the vetting process for that particular deputy. And now the court has said, okay, the person who came to object has withdrawn their objection, so we no longer are barring anybody in the county assembly from continuing the process of vetting this person. Okay? So next week on the 15th, Anne Kananu Mwenda is expected to go to the county assembly of Nairobi for vetting.
Follow the process. Aluta continua. That's what's going to happen.
Siasa mingi, mambo mingi, more underhand deals happening here. So is it that the powers that be feel uncomfortable with, having
an election?
Having an election campaign in Nairobi County at this particular time? Bear in mind what the senator from Murang'a said in his letter.
I can see you smelling a rat here, Eric.
Yes.
So let me say it for you.
Do we also see that? Say my rat.
So you're saying that even this objection that was withdrawn is being pulled by the puppet master?
Yeah,
You're saying it was engineered?
Yes.
It's likely.
It was engineered so that the election would not take place in Nairobi.
It's likely. It's likely. It's likely that the person was actually.
It is likely, yes.
The word was sent around. What's the point of having this thing anyway?
Why have an election?
Yeah.
See, you had objected. Now just remove that objection and we continue with the process.
Maybe the argument given to the gentleman is not the one that we are preferring here. It's something different. Legally, boss. Now that you're objecting, and you're objecting because this person, you felt that this person did not have the authority, that person is no longer in office. See, just look. Maybe. And they saw the sense. Okay? But what exactly is happening in Nairobi? Enoch is in Eldoret. Enoch, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Now, it is my opinion that I want to contribute to the discussion. It is my opinion that when a vacancy arises in the office of the governor, and there is anything that has been done by the governor, and the governor is impeached, then whatever the governor did while in office is null and void.
We lost Enoch. I think we'll try and get him back. But basically, the point that he has made is, as long as that governor has been impeached, any decision that he made while in office is null and void, including any law that he had signed. Boss, you'll now open up a whole can of worms. Enoch. What do you think about this matter? 0719012600. That's 0719012600. We're waking up to the realization that there is a notice issued to the public by the county clerk in the Nairobi County Assembly saying that the county assembly is going to have some vetting sittings next week on the 15th day of January to vet Anne Mwenda Kananu, who had been nominated by Mike Mbuvi Sonko to be the deputy governor of Nairobi. That matter had been halted by the courts because one gentleman had gone to court challenging Sonko's authority to do this. Now that he has withdrawn it, the court has said, all right, so the case is no longer here. So the process can go ahead. Now, are the people of Nairobi going to have their choice? Or are the people of Nairobi basically just going to have the law working for them in this particular case? Is it a win for the Nairobi residents or voters, or is it not? Good morning, 22 minutes after 8.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Maritime Tips brought to you by Kenya Maritime Authority. Precautions for boat owners, crew and passengers. Keep a distance of 2 meters between each other. Put on your masks. Sanitize your hands. Practice coughing and sneezing etiquette. Disinfect life jackets regularly. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces on board the boats and vessels, such as steering wheel, safety and guardrails, and seats. Provide disposal bins with lids on board boats and vessels. Limit passenger capacity to 50%. Do not overload your vessel. Observe government curfew times. Stay home if you have flu-like symptoms. Stay safe. Stop spread of coronavirus. Kenya Maritime Authority for safe and efficient water transport.
The weather with Spice FM.
It's sunny in Nairobi at 16 degrees. We'll see highs of 26 today. The high will be 25 in Nakuru at 17. Sunny conditions currently. Mostly cloudy conditions in Nyeri at 15, going to highs of 25 and coming down to lows of 12. Mostly sunny in Eldoret at 10 degrees. Highs of 24. We're looking at highs of 27 in Kisumu. Partly sunny at the moment at 23. It's partly sunny in Kakamega at 21, going to highs of 28 today. 31 will be the high in Mombasa. Mostly sunny at 25. We're looking at 22. Partly sunny conditions in Malindi. Highs of 28 and lows of 17. Mostly sunny conditions in Kampala at 20. Highs of 28. Highs of 32 in Dar es Salaam. Partly sunny at the moment at 27. It's 17 and mostly cloudy in Johannesburg. 25. And light rain in Lagos at 32. That'll be the high, coming down to lows of 24. And for now, in Kinshasa, rain showers at 22. Highs of 28. Coming back down to lows of 22.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, 25 minutes.
Mornings done right.
Nairobi just be allowed to go ahead and directly elect their next leader. Now that the people that they elected in 2017, that's Mike Mbuvi Sonko and Polycarp Igathe, are no longer in office. Neither of them is. However, there's an issue here that before last year, Mike Sonko had nominated Anne Mwenda Kananu to the position of deputy governor. When the matter was just about to go into the assembly for vetting, somebody went to court and challenged Sonko's powers to do that, because remember, that's a time when Sonko had been barred from accessing office because of corruption charges. Now, the person who took that matter to court has withdrawn it. And because of withdrawing it, the judge said, now this matter is no longer here, which means that the stop that had been put has now been lifted. And the County Assembly is saying that next week on the 15th, there's going to be a sitting to vet the nominee, Anne Mwenda Kananu. A number of issues now emerge here. So first of all, the timing of this whole thing, what's happening, what's the politics behind this? Is Anne Mwenda Kananu now the preferred candidate of the powers that be? Number two, is Anne Mwenda Kananu going to actually serve as governor if she's sworn in as governor until next year? Or is she also now going to appoint somebody else? All those rumors flying around. So she comes in, she's sworn in as governor, and then she's then expected to nominate somebody as deputy governor. That deputy governor is vetted in the assembly, and then Anne Mwenda Kananu says, let me just do something else. So the deputy governor now becomes the governor. Long process, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a possibility in the country and the kind of politics that we play in this country.
But remember, the thing that it also does, in addition to that, it also opens us up to this discussion about the legal processes around these things. I understand things now that I didn't understand before. If this debate had not been there, if, for instance, Mike Mbuvi Sonko had not appointed this lady in the first place, the matter would not have gone to the Supreme Court. And the pronouncement of the Supreme Court would not have been there. But now it's there. Now, if indeed Mike Mbuvi Sonko had not been removed, all this debate that we're having would not have been there. Now, remember, he didn't have a substantive deputy. So because of this, another can of worms was opened. All this, from the perspective of understanding what the Constitution says about this, is really very good, which means the next time you have such an issue, we have an idea of what it is that the law says. So we can even be talking from a position of authority. Yes. But it appears that before we actually get to 2022, many governors will face the same fate.
We're going to see issues.
Yes, we will see.
Let's go to the phone lines, and we'd like you to participate in the conversation. 0719-012-600. Also on Facebook and Twitter. Should the people of Nairobi be allowed to, be let to have a choice in a by-election for governor? Or should we just say, okay, this is the law, Ms. Anne Mwenda Kananu gets vetted, is approved by the County Assembly, gets sworn in as governor, and we move on like nothing happened. Zachary in Nakuru, good morning.
Oh, good morning, people.
How are you, Zachary?
I'm okay, and I'm just enjoying the debate.
Okay.
Well, the January rivalry continue hitting on me.
Don't worry. Hata cabbage ni nyama.
No cabbage. I saw cabbage, and somebody was trying to tell me that the cabbages are very good, and I'm agreeing now.
Cabbage is a protein.
Yeah, it's a protein.
Yes.
Now, the issue of Mr. Mbuvi Sonko is a case study. And actually, I would want someone to write a book about him. Just like Trump, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And what I may say is this, yeah? That one thing we see that because of the timing, there is hidden hand somewhere trying to actually say that, okay, you go withdraw the case, get this money, you go help yourself, and let that lady be vetted. And actually, that is not going to happen. Because when the movie Sonko appointed that lady, the only thing that he had been told not to do is to access his office, but he was still governor. So it shows that his appointment of that lady as deputy governor is varied, actually. And the only thing that now needs to happen is that the guy has withdrawn. Now the MCAs are going to also be told, okay, this is the line that we are going to do. Get these coins. Can you just say that lady is now the deputy governor, and immediately she's going to be sworn in as a governor because the seat of the governor is now vacant.
But the question I'm asking you, Zachary, is do you think the voters of Nairobi will have gotten justice? Do you think the voters of Nairobi then the system will have worked in their favor?
Well, legally, I would say that they have elected me whatever because the person who actually nominated that lady was Sonko. And the Sonko had been given the voice or the power to do so by Nairobi voters.
Okay.
So it shows that that lady is now going to be our next governor in Nairobi. But look here, Mr. Eric, yeah? Notice that he is being wanted by even the guys who are here, yeah? It is because we do not want a repeat of the Musabweni saga, you know? Yeah. I think that is what's going
You're
to
avoiding defeat. Okay, Zachary.
Sure.
Let's hear from other callers as well. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a nice day too.
All right.
Thank you, Zachary.
Felix in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today, Felix?
I am fine. I think it's true we are trying to avoid another Msambweni. But most critically also, when you look at it, there's somebody who's trying to be very cheeky with the law here. The very fact that by the time Sonko was nominating this lady, he already had it.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden it is being, that part is being cleared. Then it's just being tricky. And obviously the law as it is, there are always loopholes that can be manipulated. And that is what is going on here.
So you're seeing political manipulation?
It is a political manipulation. But I would want again to ask, if somebody's girlfriend, if somebody dies, would the girlfriend probably be able to inherit? Because this is what it looks like. Because Sonko has been killed by the situation that has removed him from the office. And the appointment of Anne looks like now is
the girlfriend. But I think let's look at it this way, Felix.
Yes.
So we're saying that somebody has died,
yes,
and the girlfriend whom he had formally engaged and even
yes,
introduced to the parents, and they had started the talks.
Yes.
Is that person is that person allowed to inherit?
That is the question that we should be asking, because that is what it's looking like.
But it's a good analogy. But surely, does the law have a space and a place for someone whom we call a girlfriend?
The person is not legitimate.
No, he's saying even culturally.
Culturally, is there anything like a girlfriend? No.
You're a wife. Or at the very least, the mother of a child.
Worst case scenario, wife in waiting.
And when you become wife, it's because you've gone through the entire process.
Yes.
And gotten married. So if it's halfway through and then you die, what happens?
That's why we have courts.
That's what Felix is asking. Very good one, I think. Felix, asante sana for your question and for your input as well today. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Two questions here. Do you read some political games being played in now the clearance for the vetting of Anne Kananu into Nairobi County as governor? Number two, should the people of Nairobi have gotten to a point where they elect their next leader, just like they did in 2017? Remember, they voted for Sonko and Igathe. None of them is now in office. So now? Okay, 26 minutes to 9. Let's see what's happening on the roads.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is bumper to bumper, outbound into the city, outbound Mombasa Road, as well as inbound to the city today. So we're looking at some crazy traffic right about now. Still in the middle of traffic hour, and things have progressed. So there's a lot of traffic on Mombasa Road right now. If you're trying to get into the CBD, it's going to slow you down just a little bit. But it's not too bad. It's moving in some areas and slows down a little bit right around the roundabout, then heading past Nyayo Stadium. So getting to the CBD might take you a little bit longer than expected. Coming from other parts also, it's not so bad right now. Mombasa Road, that's we've ticked. Coming off of Ngong Road and Langata Road looks pretty good. Jogo Road out towards through to Landis is a bit slow, but then you get into the CBD without too much of a headache right about now. Okay, so let us know what you see if you find an alternate route, especially if you're Mombasa Road. You could maybe use the bypass. Let us know that as well. Spice of MKE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Spice up your life.
So 24 minutes to 9. What do you think? 0719-012-600. Should the people of Nairobi vote for Mike Sonko's replacement as governor? And do you support this now move to have Anne Kananu Mwenda vetted by the county assembly next week? So then if she's approved by the county assembly, she becomes the governor. Okay. Aroko Oko says, politics of Nairobi as at now, the residents still will not be able to elect a competent leader because of the fact that we have political divides right now. So all these kind of political divide that we are seeing, it will deny the people of Nairobi an opportunity to elect a competent leader. His argument. Go back to the phone lines. And our friend in Mwakijembe, Mohammed, good morning and Happy New Year.
Same to you. I wish you a very blissful morning.
Thank
Waungwana, salamu alaikum.
Walaikum
salam. Salam kaka.
Nimefurahi tena kuwasikia mwaka mpya, mnachangamka vizuri. Na mimi nataka kuendelea na mazungumzo yangu yale ya kawaida. So this issue of moral values, even Trump is lacking. Now this, I told you, it's a global crisis. Because if WHO, which is part of United Nations, can come up with ideas on how to control and manage the corona issue, can they come up with things where they can inculcate in schools all over moral values of the various modules which can fit in any community, any age, any part of the humanity?
Right.
They can do it. And that is the solution. Nyinyi mtazunguka mbuyu. Mwalimu unajua kuzunguka mbuyu?
I know what a mbuyu is. I know how kuzunguka is. So
now put them together.
Hakuna mahali unafika. Unazunguka tu hapo hapo. Na mazungumzo yenu kila siku na nyinyi nawasikia mnazunguka mbuyu tu. Lakini hiyo suluhisho ni ngumu, hamuitaki. Sio nyinyi, generally sisi binadamu hatutaki hiyo solution. I don't know why. Are we escaping the reality?
Well, the reality sometimes paint will help paint us in a light we probably don't want to see ourselves in. And that is something that the truth does all the time. Inakuonyesha, inamulika sehemu za maisha ambao hungependa ionekane hadharani.
Sasa unajua, the only thing which will set you free is truth.
Ni kweli kabisa.
Utabaki kuwa mtwana tu, because if you are escaping truth utakuwa mtwana of yourself and of the surrounding. Kwa nini usijaribu kuwa muungwana kama vile nyinyi vijana nyinyi mko hapo mazungumzo yenu vile mnaendesha kipindi, mnaendesha kiungwana. Lakini kuendesha kipindi kiungwana, lakini mambo ya ndani siwezi kujua. Ya personal yenu ya ndani siwezi jua, lakini vile mnaendesha kipindi na mnasikika kila mahali. Muungwana wa hali ya juu. Hiyo moja. Mambo ya moral value lazima tuende mbio, iwe ikiwekwa katika syllabus za kufundisha shule za ulimwengu, sio Kenya peke yake. Kuna nchi nyingi wame-inculcate hii moral values, lakini maisha yao yanaendelea vizuri. Very few countries. So why can't we, if you can't study and know the answer, can't we copy?
Actually,
Coping is very easy.
Mohammed, you have a point. It's something that Denmark has been praised for.
Very good, sir.
Yeah, because they say that the confidence and trust quotient in Denmark is something beyond the 75 percentile. So it's like 7 out of 7, even approaching 8 out of 10 Danes, ukiwauliza kitu, whether they trust a neighbor or someone they haven't met, they will trust the person. And the reason,
there you are.
And the reason is that moral value that you're talking about is very, very, very highly stated and maintained in that particular country.
Country copy. You know, in an exam, if you don't have an answer, at least ukiangalia macho hivi, you can copy and get the right answer. Country copy also.
Values, Mohammed.
Mohammed, what happens if ukitupa macho and you look at the wrong question and then you
pick the wrong answer.
And you pick the wrong answer?
Wewe ukienda uangalie Somalia au uangalia mambo ya Somalia au nchi nyingine ambapo sijui I don't like to mention names, countries which are at its lowest.
Yes.
Labda pengine umepiga macho upande huo.
Ni kweli?
Sasa kwa hivyo wazee tuchangamke, tuungane mikono, tujaribu kuhimiza hii mambo ya moral value.
Asante
Mohammed. At national level, na halafu kuna kitu kingine nitakuzungumza habari ya corona.
Tafadhali.
Sasa inasemekana kila mahali vitamin D. Immune system. Sasa kwa nini watu hawataki kujenga immune system? Na njia rahisi, kula mchicha, kula ukwaju, kula dagaa, kimbia mbio, tembea, fanya exercise, kaa kwa jua. Very simple thing. It won't cost you a dime. Why don't we educate people on how to boost their immune system so that we can fight this thing? Lakini mambo mengine ya secondary, primarily hawataki kutufundisha. Let's keep on educating people on how to boost their immune system. Even if you see the Europeans or Americans where they lack sun, they lack vitamin D in their body. Alafu chakula yao mara nyingi, sorry to say, is junk food. At least we are lucky. Tunakula sukuma wiki, dagaa, tuko shambani, tunalima, tunakuwa na exercise. Ndio sababu ikawa haikutuchapa sana kama wao. Na hiyo haionekani, hawajui. That is the only way we can fight corona. Just boost our immune system. And there are very many ways of boosting the immune system without paying a single cent. You spend money, billions, and sijui nini, sanitizer, sijui mask, sijui nini, yote. Mimi naona kama tuachezeana shere tu. Na nyinyi media, nawaomba, I kindly and humbly request you, please, even when we get guests there who are experts in all these things, why don't you bring that issue of immune system? Sijawasikia.
Actually, we brought it yesterday.
Mohammed, hautusikizia maneno wewe.
Na jana hata nimewasikia nijaribu kuchangia lakini ikawa hakuna muda wa kuchangia jana.
No, our system ilikuwa na shida jana. Yes, but we did bring someone who actually, we raised this issue. He's a professor at the University of Nairobi School of Medicine. And he's a virologist. He's somebody who actually understands these things well.
I really appreciate his talk. He mentioned a lot about immune system.
Yes.
So why don't we do it the way we do about sanitizing and keeping distance and mask and all that? Why we don't have that effort and the time and the passion of educating the nation?
You make a point.
But they don't.
You make a point. You make a good point.
They very lightly. Mimi nawaomba tufanye bidii upande huo tafadhali. Mambo ya moral value na immune system. Shukran.
Asante Mohammed.
0719-012-600. We are talking about Nairobi City County Government. So the nomination of Anne Kananu Mwenda is back in line. It's on the conveyor belt. Next week, she's expected. She has been asked to appear before the County Assembly next week on the 15th for vetting by the County Assembly. And if the County Assembly then approves her nomination, she is sworn in as Deputy Governor or just straight into Governor. So she takes over from the acting Governor, who is the Speaker of the County Assembly. Becky is asking, does it really matter? Educate me. Why do we need to have a governor for 1.5 years? Can they just run the city as they are? Why put someone there, earn a salary with benefits, and we know they're going to do nothing? What's the point of having somebody for 1.5 years? Oh, go to an election. Just allow the current system as it is.
There are other roles that a governor or someone in the position of a governor plays, and which doesn't necessarily involve running the county. You could call them ceremonial, but they exist. And also, that the position has to be filled. It actually has to be. It's not, you can't leave it in abeyance. It has to be filled.
Yep.
So the process has to be seen to take place, and it must take place. Now, whatever else is happening behind the scenes, that's a completely different story. Why it is that the matter that was taken to court was withdrawn, why it is that this lady was appointed in the first place, those aren't discussions I'm personally going to get involved in.
And there's more drama of what, like, for example, what was happening yesterday in a sworn affidavit where Mike Sonko says, in fact, and he's producing, what he's calling in his affidavit, that he can prove accusations that during that whole period of the nomination for the deputy governor, there was pressure coming in from other external quarters that are close to State House, saying we also have someone that would...
He even mentions names, actually.
Yes.
But this is a habit that this particular individual has.
Of recording.
Not just recording voice, recording activities and presenting them. Essentially, these are the tactics that people who are considered blackmailers use. Okay? So it brings to question the suitability of such an individual in such a high position, because it's like every conversation that is had with him, he records. And even if he records, he is even, remember when he went for a funeral, he even talked about having evidence about conversations he had had in State House.
Yeah.
Again, it appears he recorded those. Now, surely, in a position of leadership, that you did it is one thing. That you can talk about it in public. And every once in a while, because it isn't the first time and it's unlikely to be the last time. And he has been associated with some really, really, really colorful...
Maybe he's doing that to also show us what happens behind the scenes.
Who wants to know?
It would be important to hear. If, for example...
Who wants to know? Things which are discussed in private with you. Who wants to know?
If, for example, a decision that you made was because of some pressure that came from somewhere, or maybe you're also being blackmailed, record it.
But look at the instances at which they are released.
Time.
Somebody
of
has
course,
a conversation with
about
you
it.
in private. Somebody has some sort of discussion or association with you in private, and then you want to bring this into the public domain.
Based on the belief that they are speaking with you in confidence.
Especially because what they're telling you, they also know it's not something that they'd like to be heard. So if you're telling me something you don't want people to know, don't tell me.
Actually, no, it doesn't quite work that way.
Anyway, let's hear from Washington
you always
first.
come in and you have somebody that you can display confidence with.
We'll come back into this. Washington is in Malindi. Good morning, Washington.
Good morning to you. How are you, Nairiko?
Safi kabisa. How is Malindi today?
Malindi is so fine. Yeah, send my greetings to Nairiko and Emmanuel.
We shall do that. We shall actually send those greetings, and I'm certain they will receive them and respond.
Yeah, later in the evening. So, Washington, we are talking about Nairobi politics.
Exactly.
And the politics of Nairobi now with what is expected to happen next week, the vetting of Sonko's nominee.
Okay.
What do you make of this?
I just made a prejudgment. I made a prejudgment from last week. I knew very well that they were not going to elect. They were not going to do any election in Nairobi, especially after the issue that happened in Sambweni. You know, Nairobi politics is actually a shadow of the politics in Kenya. So it is just a prejudgment that they had planned already.
So who's they in this particular case?
It is according to me, I'm seeing Anne is going to be successful. That lady is the boss right now because, she's actually going to become the governor.
It's as good as done.
Because for now, exactly with this 1.5 years,
okay,
an election cannot happen.
Thank you, Washington.
Yeah. Fine.
Asante sana and have a lovely day in Malindi. 0719-012-600. Henry says the county government of Nairobi needs a strong and independent person as leader. So as we continue picking more calls, the matter that you're raising here about this sworn affidavit by Mike Sonko, remember he's not going to take it. He's just basically taking it to court somewhere and saying, you know what, even in this matter of seeking to nominate somebody, there's a lot of underhand deals that happens. And here is evidence of that kind of underhand deals. And you're saying that this raises questions about this person's character and trustworthiness for holding a position of leadership.
I'm saying it does because there's a very simple word. It's called confidentiality. There are certain offices that once you ascend to, there are certain confidentialities you are anticipated. People even sign documentation that guarantees that they will hold certain confidences. Right? Now, when you're in a position of authority, people will talk to you understanding that authority. It isn't for the public domain, because if it was, they themselves would take it to the public domain. It's not as though they cannot. You are told within a certain specific confine for a specific purpose. And then you record it to use for your purposes when you feel your back is against the wall. And there's no limits. Now,
a gentleman did that in America, and it ended up with impeachment proceedings against the president. Conversations held within the precincts of the White House between the president and a senior official. And this senior official says affidavit saying, yeah, this is what the president was telling me to do.
You know,
it's because it raises those issues. Do we trust what is happening behind those closed doors?
Are you talking about the recording that a journalist undertook and which led to the Watergate scandal?
No, Trump's issue with the impeachment. Let's first hear from Christian because she's on the line. Christian, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Christian is here. Christian, good morning. How are you in Nairobi?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Salama kabisa.
Now, I agree with you, Latif, on this Sonko recording people. If you don't want to tell me something, if you're going to hide in what you're going to tell me, then don't tell me. But Sonko records people. It's not gentlemanly to do that. It's not the right thing to do. Like, it's a bit unethical.
Yeah.
But also, what you're also doing is unethical when you talk to him and try and push and lobby for people behind the scenes.
But my brother, let me ask this question. Our political process, as you know it, is it not full of these very same things that he's talking about? And do people go around talk about them in public all the time?
What things?
Things which are said in secret, plans which are made. If, for instance, you want to scuttle someone's electoral processes, do you go around announcing it? No. You have a caucus of people you discuss it with, and we see it happening. I'm simply saying that when people tell you something in confidence, you, the individual, they expect that you will keep the confidence.
You know,
that is the anticipation.
Exactly.
But there are two different things here. There's telling me something in confidence, and there's trying to influence me to do something. If you're not willing to stand by what you've told me in confidence in public, don't tell me.
Then in that case, you shouldn't expect to have had the support that brought you into that office in the first place. Because it's a quid pro quo. We did this for you, now we want you to do this for us.
There's no honor among thieves. If you just get into this game and you think you're a thief, just know there's no honor among thieves.
Actually, there is some honor among thieves. There is some honor.
Now, anyway, about this Anne Kananu.
Right.
I think someone is really pushing from a very high office for this lady to get into governor.
Why?
I mean, clearly, how do you pick out something from January last year? You're bringing it today, and now she's becoming the governor.
And why not?
It's just January last year.
Because they're avoiding the by-election.
Well,
why? What do you think that would be the reason behind avoiding a by-election? What would someone be wanting to avoid?
It's about saving face. You saw what happened in Sambweni, and this pattern is moving all around the place.
Please expound on what you're saying.
It's not really about Ruto. Ruto tends to hinge himself to what the people are doing, but this is just the people who are upset with the establishment and they're putting their own people in power. And the establishment is against that. They really don't want to lose face in this Nairobi thing.
So the system thinks it could lose.
It's all about thinking they're going to lose.
It's an interesting perspective.
Thank you, Christian.
It's about to lose. All right, thanks. Have a great day.
Have a good one as well. 0719-012-600. What's your perspective on this particular matter? So we have IEBC had already set a date for the Nairobi gubernatorial by-election. Then the court stopped that. Then initially there was the issue of Anne Kananu Mwenda, who had been nominated by the governor of Nairobi, Mike Sonko, to be the deputy governor. It had been stopped because the gentleman had gone to court and said, you know what, Mike Sonko has been barred from office because of corruption cases. Now, he should not have any authority to make any changes, either even appointing or firing any CECs, or then nominating a deputy governor. Before that matter has been concluded, that person withdraws the case. And now court says, well, having no matter before me, then I have nothing to talk about. So now the county assembly is about to vet Anne Kananu next week for this position. Politics of it is one interesting drama. Second one is, so now what happens to, is she going to be a rightful choice of the people if she's put in office? Because that argument, just because the courts have not determined it, that argument still stands. Was Sonko procedurally allowed to make any changes to the county government?
At the time,
remember, there was that
at
objection.
the time when he was making this nomination
Yes.
of Anne Kananu.
There was that objection that was raised by the Director of Public Prosecutions with regards to the Samburu governor, who also is facing cases in court and who has also been barred from office, and he made some changes to the cabinet. And the issue is, when you've been barred from office, are you still allowed to make those changes?
No.
Have you been barred from running the affairs of the office, or have you been barred from accessing the office?
Well, that's still something that continues to be wrapped around this grey area. The
Still.
DPP himself was asking for clarification from the court and saying, please clarify exactly what this means.
And then
How much
Supreme
more
Court
citizenry
played
who are
dance,
waiting
dance.
No answer has ever, till date, no answer has been clearly given as to what an individual is allowed to do, even if they've been barred from accessing office.
Yep.
Now, is that barred from physically sitting behind your desk accessing office, or anything to do with the office in terms of operation and administration?
So what have you actually
It's the
done?
question. Nothing.
Because on the other hand, we are talking about Sonko. One of the reasons why we have issues with him as system is because he is refusing to sign this budget. Signing budget is actually exercising the duty of governor.
And
Alan,
they need him to do it.
Alan, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, old chap?
Come see, come saw, old chap.
Yeah.
Pourquoi comme si?
Yeah. Now, I just want to make a quick point, yeah? In the newspapers, towards sports, there are these listings that Nairobi Stock Exchange does of bonds and whatever. If you go to the 1989 one or 88 one, you'll find that the Nairobi City Council used to list bonds, used to raise corporate paper. Yeah, this was an organization that had a balance sheet that was good enough to take to the markets to borrow money. Now, what you are talking about, Mwenda, Sonko, Kenani, just shows how deeply we have gone, how the depth we have sunk in terms of governance of our capital city. The Johannes government just 2 months ago went to the market to raise 2 billion rand. Nairobi should be managed by technocrats. All these fellows should just be, get rid of it. That's the way I think. Nairobi should be run by technocrats.
So
because
NMS,
the city,
let's just go down it. NMS runs Nairobi. Wachana na hii mambo ya elect people.
And I suppose let's get that Kenanu chick, because she's not going to be a threat to anybody. So let General Obadi continue.
General Obadi, fantastic.
Thank you, Alan. Have a good day.
Cheers. Good day.
Yes.
More calls in the next hour. Good morning. It's now coming up to 9 o'clock. 0719 012 600 Spice FM KE on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Hello.
Spice up your life. .4 Spice FM. Nairobi.
Where are you stuck?
Traffic.
I don't see that anybody's really stuck this morning. Traffic again performing well. Mombasa Road still slightly stuck inbound to CBD today, moving very slowly. Then as you're out past General Motors, you're getting towards Airtel, it's going to slow down even more. But then after that, it should be fine. Uhuru Highway, though, after the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, getting into the CBD is, almost at a bumper-to-bumper state, but it's flowing. So at the roundabout, you'll be able to move through. Coming into the CBD is not too painful now. So it looks like an easy Friday, more or less, after things have opened up. We'll take a look in about half hour, see if anything like that has changed, indicative of what the day will look like. All right, the bypass is up for you. Southern Eastern looking good. Talk to us, however, in case you need to. Spice FMKE on Twitter or text 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the
2 minutes after 9. Thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room this and every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. This first week of January 2021 is coming to a conclusion, all right? 7 days into the new year. The 8th day of the year. City, as we begin this hour, what is today's proverb again? It's from Uganda, isn't it?
Not specific to which part, just Uganda. One who loves you, warns you.
One who loves you.
Warns you.
Okay. Okay. Nizazawa. Come on, umesema nizazawa.
So if you see road signs that tell you to halt,
they
it
love
loves
you. Bumps ahead.
What, love?
It's a love sign.
That's love.
Okay. So, Irongo Kangata's letter is a love letter.
Of course it is.
Okay.
He's warned. And he's given an indication. And that indication may have some truth. The degree is a different discussion altogether, but that the truth exists. Yes, even if it's just two people. There's truth in
There's
it.
truth. Okay. So, Ndu.
Yes.
Thursday.
Is an election day in Uganda. So, Ugandans will go to the polls to decide if they want to retain President Yoweri Museveni as their president, or if they want to bring in other individuals. And one such individual is Robert Chalungani, who is currently the National Unity Platform's presidential candidate. Now, the campaign period has been on for several months now, and many things have been said. Many arrests have been made. Many releases have been made. There have been protests in many towns in Uganda. There have been riots. There have been many things going on here and there. Now, as of last night, there was even a further development. Bobby Wine, as he's more commonly known in social spheres, has indicated that his children were at risk of kidnap by the state. And this is what he has alleged, that there was a plot to kidnap his children. And he now had decided to take them abroad. That destination was not clear. But Wednesday night, social media was abuzz. And there was even a photo and the travel details of his children at the Entebbe International Airport, where in a statement then which he made yesterday, he reiterated that his family had been living in fear for the past 3 years after he announced he would challenge President Museveni in the polls slated for the 14th of January. All right. Now, he said he has received information pending physical attacks on him, his wife, and the kidnap of his children. And friends in the diaspora had reached out to them and said, you know what? We can see the danger that lies here. Let us take your children for some time while you continue with the campaigns. Now, he also said that there are regime apologists and they were questioning the travel of his children as the polling date draws closer. And I'm going to quote what he said here. The regime propagandists should be very ashamed. In a free and democratic country, nobody should live in fear simply because they oppose the government in power. In a free country, a presidential candidate would never have to wear a bulletproof jacket and helmet in order to go for campaigns. And this is what he has been doing recently. He does go out in the full protective regalia when he's going for much of these campaigns. So he has been speaking out recently, especially about a free, fair, democratic atmosphere in Uganda is what is necessary. And for him to come out, and we do know that he is the urban center popular candidate in Uganda right now. So Uganda goes to the polls on the 14th. We were in a position to speak to him, but things kind of took a different turn, especially now with his children having to leave the country. So we also did hear a quote that came from Museveni himself, which alluded to saying that, you know what, it would be very difficult for you to come and topple a system because you feel that you have the popular vote. And he said this on Wednesday. And he said he was speaking generally. But of course, Bobby Wine, as he's popularly known, thought that it was a target to him directly.
So, a couple of things that I'm thinking when I hear the Bobby Wine saga. So he has decided that he wants to get his kids and his family out of the country as we get closer to the election. Was this as a result of any direct threats to his children, to his family? Was there anything like an intrusion into their home? A threat of any harm coming directly to the children?
What he said was that he received information. Now, we don't know what manner that information came in. We don't know if somebody whispered in his ear. We don't know if he was given a letter. We don't know if there was a direct threat made to him.
He did not produce anything.
He didn't produce anything.
Right.
What he said is that I have received information of pending physical attacks to me, my wife, and the kidnap of our children. He was specific about exactly what it was.
Right.
That there would be harm to him and his children, and that's why he decided to send them out of the country. Now, look, this is a man who has been arrested for taking... much like Kizzy Besigye, has been arrested for taking a walk. This is a man who has been arrested, released, and re-arrested upon his release.
And none of those times was his family harmed.
None of his time was his family harmed, but this is now when he's saying that over the last 3 years, there have been threats to his family. The nature of the threats have not been shared.
Right.
But by the time somebody is speaking out about this on a and saying regularly this has happened, I think there is cause for concern. Or there is cause for concern. To throw some kind of attention in that direction.
Yeah, there's cause for concern. And the concern here is exactly what do you want to achieve with the action that you're taking. Look, I'm taking this with a direct pinch of salt here. Yes, there could as well be some very serious threats that have been issued, and he has credible information on what something that was likely to happen. But in the absence of any direct threat to his family for the last 3 years, or even for the past 1 year, just a few days to the election is when he says, I have received information and then I'm taking my family out. I see this as, he's a politician.
Okay, Mr. Kalungani and Makindye West MP, Mr. Allen Sesimwanyana, said that they were targeted for opposing the ruling of the National Resistance Movement Party's plan to scrap the presidential age limit. He said an explosive was hurled at his son, Solomon Sekia's bedroom window in an attempt to scare him away from the debate. However, government spokesperson Mr. Ofonwo Pondo at the time denied the government was behind the move. So this happened to his son. So if we're asking about reasons or direct examples,
that's not even this year
happened.
or last year. This is more.
He did say that it was in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the last 3 years, we have this one incident where something happened. An explosive was hurled towards the son's bedroom, and at that point, he did not take his children out of the country. Now, you're taking your children out of the country.
A week to the election.
Yeah. That's I'm saying big. What do you
There hasn't been any
of salt. I'm just looking at this and thinking, okay, Chagulanyi, you are being dramatic. It could as well be true that there's a reason for concern. So also you go to political rallies wearing a bulletproof jacket and a helmet.
Let me ask the all-important question. Has anyone who has been opposed to President Yoweri Museveni and who has vied for this seat of the presidency died? And has there been anyone who, it has been argued, was killed by the state?
Is that what it's going to take to get some attention paid to this?
Has anybody been disappeared?
No, I'm actually going to the extremity of it. And then bring it back to what we have seen with Besigye, okay? Who has received many sound beatings, okay, from the state.
But I was frustrated into silence, my friend. Until now, it would seem as if he doesn't even have a political leg to stand on and even contest. He's politically exhausted.
There's a point I'm getting at here, that when you are in the political arena, one side story is as valid as the other.
Yeah.
Because when you are a politician, you cannot just assume that it is a state that doesn't like you. Bobby Wine is an MP. You think he is an MP for life. There are other people who want that job. Now, if it appears the state is against you, is that not an opportunity presenting itself to people who want that same job as you to do something that they think will scare you when they know very well the state will get the blame?
When Kizzy Besigye is being arrested, when Kalungan is being arrested, he's not being arrested by machete-wielding vigilante. He's being arrested by police officers of the state.
Arrested. Right.
He's being arrested even for hours and then released.
Not disappeared, not kidnapped.
No.
Not taken to some torture chamber and reappearing 2 weeks later, arrested in public.
You're talking about the frustration that he may have felt or that which has been accorded to him.
Yep.
Right? Where is it coming from?
You see.
And you're saying that if, for example, that there are people who don't want him in power and could not necessarily be the state, but if what we've seen very publicly has him being arrested by agents of the state, security forces.
Yes.
So even if it is somebody else who is trying to frustrate his effort, what are we seeing? It is state machinery that is arresting.
Yes.
Or releasing.
You've been arrested by state machinery, okay? And remember, state machinery has the exclusive right to use force and many other things. But what they've done is they've arrested you publicly. They have not disappeared you. They have not, those things that we say, he has been disappeared by this. They have not disappeared you. You have not vanished. You have not gone missing at you. Oh, where is this guy? Here you are. What CT is saying is somebody else who is your enemy or who is your rival could take advantage of exactly what they are seeing. So because you're being arrested, because it appears though now everybody is clearly going to look at this and say, it's going to be the state to blame.
In the same vein, it could be the state as well.
But at the same time, remember, it's true. But at the same time, remember, the state that has all these, the time they came to arrest you, they could have come to arrest you.
They had other options.
They had all the other options. They didn't take them. They didn't use those other options. When you're wearing this bulletproof vest and all, it's not because you've been shot at and the bullet just went and you're like, oh my God, well, there is that. Because the driver was killed the other day. So there's that particular issue.
He has been shot at.
But was it by the state? Was it by state agencies?
Yes, was it?
See, really, this is the point I'm trying to make here. I am not diminishing the harm that has come to him because of what he has chosen. But if we were to go by the example of Besigye, what did he expect?
He expected not to be shot at by police. He expected that he could run a campaign.
No, I'm asking this question.
Expects that he could run a campaign in a country which is said to be free and fair and democratic.
No.
This is his expectation. That he
in which country?
Expected to not be shot at by police. And
My
then
dear,
his driver dies.
I am actually not being facetious here. I'm merely asking the question. You want to be president, you want to unseat Yoweri Museveni. You're not the first person to try it. You've seen what happens before. It is your country. You know what country you live in. So this other country where these things you're expecting should happen is which one? For instance, in this country, voters expect to be bribed.
And then you vie for an election and you don't...
want to bribe, and then you
don't give out a bribe.
I wasn't going to bribe them. Why did you stand in the first place?
You're actually being facetious.
Yes, you are, CT. 1,000% facetious. In fact, if you were looking for a definition of facetious, What you've just said is exactly that. In fact, what you've said today, if there was a live virtual dictionary, facetious would be followed by the recording of CT's voice.
Let's hear from Philip, who's calling from Narok. Philip, Happy New Year. Good morning.
I'm good. I'm fine, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm fine, thank you, Spice FM.
Fantastic.
Fantastic, Philip. So we're talking about Uganda. What's your view on this, on what we are seeing? They're going to an election on Thursday.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, what did you want to contribute about?
Yeah, there are some things that I want to contribute about the Uganda.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the guy who is called Nyeri Museveni. He's so much concerned with his powers.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not concerned to give other people opportunity. So for me, according to me, it will be wise. The guy called Bob Wine.
Yes, it's called Bobby Wine.
To get up and sincerely consider himself, because the guy will be able to bring up some forces so that he will not be able to give a chance to fight for that particular opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you, Philip.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. 0719-012-600. We are taking your calls this morning. We want to hear what do you think about elections taking place in Uganda in a couple of days. Leading opposition candidate is Mr. Chaguranyi, popularly known as Bobby Wine. He has recently now decided to get his family out of the country because he says he has received credible information that the family is in imminent danger, and therefore he's decided, let me take the family out, let me continue this fight, let's get there. We have seen the hand of the government over the last couple of days and months of what the government wants to do. What do you think of this? Collins Juma in Kisumu, good morning. Collins, okay, just get your radio off, please, Collins, and then we shall speak to you shortly. So we want to hear what you think about this. 0719-012-600. That's the number to call as we go into this quick break where we want to take a look at traffic and not traffic. It's the weather, right?
Yes.
It's the weather. It's now time for weather. So time now is weather, and then we'll do time for traffic a bit later at traffic time. So for now, it's 17 minutes after 9. 0719-012-600. Please call.
Have you seen them? Am I lying?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Evan Nosingishi was asking me what channel is Spice FM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
what
you.
What a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you. And it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's very...
The weather with Spice FM.
At 18 degrees. We're going to see highs of 26, lows of 17 today. Sunny also in Nakuru at 18 degrees, highs of 25. We're looking at lows of 15. 12 will be the low in Nyeri, where it's mostly cloudy at 17 at the moment. 12 will also be the low in Eldoret. Sunny conditions, however, at 15. Partly sunny conditions in Kisumu. 24 degrees, going to highs of 27 and lows of 21. It's partly sunny in Kakamega at 22. Highs of 28 and lows of 16. 25 will be the low in Mombasa this morning, where it's mostly sunny at 26. It's also sunny in Malindi at 24. Looking at highs of 28 and lows of 17. Sunny conditions in Kampala at 21. Highs of 28 and lows of 20. It's mostly cloudy in Dar es Salaam this morning. It's warm, however, at 29. We're looking at highs of 32 and only lows of 27. Mostly cloudy conditions in Johannesburg this morning at 17. Highs of 23. Light rain continues in Lagos at 24. We're going to highs of 32 today. And rain showers in Kinshasa, warming up ever so slightly to 23. The highs will be 28. It's -4 in Beijing today. A little bit warmer at -4. That will be the high. And lows of -10. It's 0 degrees in Paris, right around freezing. Clear skies, however, going to only highs of 3. It's 1 degree in London, cloudy conditions, highs of 3 coming back to lows of 1. 1 is also what it is in New York this Friday. 5 the high and lows of -2.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
20 minutes past 9. So a lot is happening in Uganda during these political campaigns, with the opposition candidates feeling the opposition from the government during the campaigns. So even a clip going around on police officers or security officers trying to block some opposition candidates and their campaigners from accessing a certain site where they wanted to go and hold their campaigns. Then we also heard that whole issue of the Electoral Commission itself censuring Bobby Wine and also censuring the NRM, which is led by the candidate Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, because of a kind of things that they are doing. Number one, you're having these campaigns, that there are regulations we've put in place on how you must ensure there's social distance in your kind of rallies, the number of people that you can have, maximum number of people in a particular political rally. If you have more people than that appearing in that rally, then the responsibility lies squarely, according to the regulations, on the political party and its candidate who's addressing that particular rally. So they've fallen afoul of this. Both the president and the opposition candidates, once in a while, they have faced penalties from the Electoral Commission. Some will argue, sometimes, maybe Yoweri Museveni is doing this so that he can appear to also be facing the same fate, suffering the same. I've also done the same, and I've also been punished. So when you see the other candidate being punished, it's because it's part of the process. It's part of the process.
Well, speaking about processes, one of the things that he said just a few hours ago, which is very interesting.
Who?
Museveni.
All right.
He said, and I quote, "Some countries have voted for change," this is after his, he gave, kind of a rundown on what his party, the movement, has been able to establish in Uganda over his 3-decade rule, right? Then he came out to say that, look, these popular votes that you people think is going to actually help Uganda will not help. Some countries have voted for change out of excitement. In Liberia, out of excitement, the citizens voted for a famous footballer. But it didn't take them even a year to regret. They say their leader has turned to a dictator, and so many things they hope for have not happened. And this is what he's saying. He said, don't go on the whims of popularity for now. It's not going to help you. You might think there's some young person here who's going to come in and take you into change. But look, we have examples right here on this continent. How about how those things eventually don't work out? You might think it sounds good because you want me out, but look at what we've been able to do. Keep Uganda stable for so long, bring about development change, execute and establish the political and development agenda in this country. We've been able to do it. Now you think that the winds of change are moving because you have a musician who is going to be able to help you change things. And he's saying absolutely not. And has dismissed everybody else and says he is the one.
Going with the discussion that we were having in the 7 o'clock hour, then Kaguta Museveni is saying the absolute truth. Do not let euphoria be the decision, that be what influences your decision at the ballot. Don't just look at someone and say, he looks young, he talks well. No. Question more. What exactly are you saying you're going to be able to do? Don't just pick up somebody because, they are a famous politician, footballer, they won World Footballer of the Year, they have made a lot of money out there. Just because of that, because they've come here and also supported the Liberian national team once or twice, for that reason, you make them president. No. There's more to it than that. For that reason, I say yes. Now, with with everything else, now, of course, you bring in the other arguments.
In 2018, there are remarks that are attributed to the president of Uganda. This was during the Inter-Party Organization for Dialogue, IPOD, summit, which was held at the Munyonyo's Peak Hotel Resort in Kampala.
Ugandans, they call it iPod.
Yes. So, this is what he said. I'm quoting. "I have always welcomed dialogue, and I've also welcomed the opportunity for dialogue. To me, dialogue is a command from God. When I come out and say I want to lead people and they say I do not want to talk to so-and-so, I am failing in my mandate. I am not part of those who do not want to talk. I have never been." He said even when he was fighting against Tito Kello and Milton Obote, he still had talks with them. I quote, held talks with Tito in Nairobi, and we were shooting at each other, he said. Now, what this means is that when you talk, it doesn't mean that you agree, but you get an opportunity to put your views across.
Mm-hmm.
Now, something that you must bear in mind, huh? When Yoweri Museveni became president, when he became the leader of Uganda, he was not elected. He shot his way to that presidency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? These are the niceties that democracy brings about came into being later. Now, if you've been in that position for as long as you have, and you know what you took over from, now these are the trappings and the seductions of power that people try to avoid, but they don't succeed very often. Him, Museveni, here I'm paraphrasing, was quoted to have marveled at how it is people hold on to power. He marveled.
How do they do this?
How on earth do it? Yeah, I mean, surely.
Why hold on to power for
Yes,
so long?
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
I get the impression he hadn't had that power long enough to have understood why it is that people hold on to power. And I think now he does.
Or you were saying it just for convenience sake.
There's very little about
Part
this
of
man.
slithering, part of it. This is the camel. It has just put its head in, and it's just trying to show you. Why would I be in this tent for so? Why would the whole of my body enter this tent? Why?
And I'm content to have my neck.
Yeah,
my neck is long enough. It's adequate.
And you see, this is just one leg. I mean, why? That's what he was doing
And
at
then
that
you
point.
said- and yet, in all sincerity, you cannot say that the man has done nothing for Uganda. If you consider the issues, let's just look at what we may consider the positive issues. Is the country stable? Yes. Has progress been made? Yes. Is there democracy or a form of it? Yes. Now comes a clincher. Does he want to hold on to power? Yes. But the question we should be asking, is it wrong to hold on to power?
Well, according to him, yes. Because he said it himself. It's wrong to hold on to power. It's important. Look, the other day we were celebrating the life of Jerry Rawlings, right? Who shot his way into power, shot his way again into power, and left.
That was Jerry Rawlings.
Olusegun Obasanjo did the same. Shot his way into power, left. And living happy. Okay.
Even reintroduced multi-party democracy into the country.
Yes. And now it's Baba Africa.
Yes.
What
But
makes you think
also,
that
as I
Yoweri
go on, as I
Museveni-
continue with this point, whenever we have a conversation here about Libya, our sister here talks glowingly about the late Muammar Gaddafi, who shot his way into power and stayed.
I never talked about me not having a problem with him staying. I have always talked about his intention for the people of Libya.
Yeah. He
And
had
they were
good
good.
intention.
No, actually, no.
Yes.
They were exceptional.
His intentions.
Well, very
Did he
good.
overstay his welcome? Absolutely. But his intentions for the people, it was clear. What
So
he
let's
wanted.
weigh them. So
Yeah.
which one carries more weight?
Well, given how we have seen democracy playing out in the land of the free and the land of democracy, would you then say that that particular democracy is the best democracy to follow?
No, I think that democracy still continues to have
Obama
a
should still be
developing outlook.
president. Obama should have extended.
He didn't want to extend.
He did.
He made a choice.
He was addressing the AU, and he said, if it were up to me, I would have wanted to stay longer. But I have to
He was
follow
addressing which organization?
African Union.
Okay, and who are the people present in this? African leaders. Is it not so?
He was being African. He was just basically
Yes.
he was opening up. He was basically
Yes.
laying bare his own DNA.
And saying, folks, you know something? Some things go beyond what I want. Okay?
I have to follow
And it
the
is-
law.
yeah,
I
and-
have to follow the rule of law.
And I believe it is for the good of the people. So, folks, even if you want to be like me, simply, that was the context. Okay? Now, the current president, who has not made such utterances, is trying every which way to do precisely that. Hold on to power.
Are we talking about the current president of Uganda?
Of the United States, no.
Oh.
Yoweri
okay.
Museveni has been clear, all right, about his intentions and what he plans to do. Okay? I am asking the question that when a president, because this is what we're asking, when a president stays in power beyond the mandate that was there previously, or even appears to be behind,
beyond the rules that have basically set.
And changes those rules.
Yes.
So that,
win.
Yes. Now, this is the question I think I'm asking, and this is the debate that I actually want to bring into being.
You know, I think it will go with the other question that you're asking. Is it for the greater good? Does he have the best interest of his people at heart?
Or is it his own interest?
Because we sit here and we have a conversation about the gentleman in Rwanda.
Yes, we can.
The constitution was amended so that he can now run another. Now he has how many years in office? Constitution was amended to allow him to have another go at it.
Constitution was amended.
Yes.
Did they follow due process? Yes.
But was he very influential and instrumental in that amendment of the Constitution? Yes, he was. And he stayed on.
I would expect him to be very honest.
So there we are. So if you stay on and you get to a certain point and you ask the people, and people 98% vote in a referendum to extend the tenure of a president, what's wrong with that? So if it happens that in Uganda, there's an election cycle and it's very clear in law, and the president has never done like what we've seen in Burundi and other countries where there's a lot of violence now.
So we're not having this election.
Let's postpone the election. He hasn't done that. An election is supposed to happen in Uganda.
It
happens like clockwork. And he vies, and people elect him. What's wrong with that? Is that not democracy?
What you're saying is that in between, those who also want that same position as him are given all manner of interesting scholarships by the state. Sound beating, incarceration, threats.
Walking denial.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. A leader who looks at the others, just like you're saying, those who appear not to be going in the same direction, the greater good of the country, you deal with them.
You know, if you actually had a chat with these individuals.
All the ones that you've
your
used.
definition of deal.
All the ones that you've used today.
Deal.
I'm using them
I
again.
didn't use deal. I did not use deal.
You didn't use deal.
No.
You actually used the word.
You deal with them.
You did not use deal. You actually used the worst word. What did you say? Well, just something to me.
But me, I'm not helping in this discussion.
I'm waiting for him.
that were removed.
In terms of from office.
In Singapore.
Don't come and work here.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And don't vie.
Not arrest you and throw you in jail so that you cannot even have an opportunity to speak to the people.
So that you learn a lesson one or two about leadership.
Which lesson is that you're learning?
About leadership.
Look, let me ask you this question. There's a picture that I'm seeing on page 17 of The Nation, and there's a truck driver who abrogated the curfew laws in Nakuru and is being whipped by a policeman. Okay? Now, this is what the caption says. The look of that man's face is something to behold. But here, it says, the police officer whips a truck driver who had allegedly violated the curfew in Nakuru town on March 27th last year. You have a constitutional right to record police performing their duties in public. Now, what is it this issue? Because this is not an African thing. Beating protesters. It's not an African thing. Protesters are pounded the world over, depending on the orders they've been given, even in democratic countries.
Yeah.
All right? The Black Lives Movement matter.
Black Lives Matter movement.
What did I say?
The other way, but it's okay.
Hey, this Friday has come with its own things. Anyway.
Movement.
The discussion here, when it comes to the movement and the Black Lives Matter, this Eric guy, is brutality that is not only formalized but institutionalized. This is really it. Now, there are laws that work against it, and we've seen. But I am saying it's something we see. We see it in Uganda, and we've seen it meted against people who present themselves as presidential candidates. It is not something that I can walk around and talk around and say it is good. It isn't.
It's not.
There's nothing good about it.
It isn't.
No, it isn't good. It isn't good to appear to be harassing people who are campaigning for a position that you hold. Right? It's not good.
If it is truly that you
we
feel
agree.
you have done a fantastic job, then let your job speak for itself. Anybody else who wants to come and say that they want a chance, then if truly what it is that you have done can stand on its own and speak for itself, then you shouldn't be if truly you believe,
as an elder,
if truly you
as an
believe that
elder
all these
statesman,
people who are coming up are just making noise, then allow them to make their noise. It
As a-
shouldn't then affect your position in any way, shape, or form. If you truly believe that what it is that you've done is the one that has been able to hold this country up, then you should not be worried about it.
Don't be worried about it. As an elder statesman, what you do is you use that position that you have to make sure that the people can be seen. All right?
Exactly. Allow them.
Allow
to
them.
speak.
And
Allow
if
them
they're
to present
misbehaving,
their
as a
case.
statesman, as an elder, you make sure that you also
Eric,
align them.
Eric,
25 minutes to 10.
Hey. Wow.
The things Eric
So
is
we do traffic
suggesting.
now.
So it's time.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, Spice FMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique, the official soundtrack of getting
Alright,
you where you need
you
to
guys should be all right today. Anybody who's on the roads now looking much better, coming off Mombasa Road, that's not a problem now. Into the CBD as well, coming out of Westlands, I think we're good to go, guys. Looks like an easy Friday morning in terms of traffic. I don't think anybody's stuck anywhere, and it's been great. No incidents, no accidents this morning. Nothing that's going to shake anybody up. So, guys, enter into the weekend safe as you can. You can still talk to us through the day, however, looking through what it looks like. Spice FMKE on Twitter. Talk on 40127 via text as well.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
And we are also taking in your calls as well this morning, 0719-012-600. We're having a conversation about an election that's going to happen on Thursday in the neighboring country of Uganda. So when you talk about the conduct of the state during the campaigns, and we're saying the way political leaders in Uganda are being beaten left, right, and center, being barred from accessing places, sometimes being their supporters being beaten. We saw that. We saw the kind of scenes that we were seeing in the 90s, where it was just normal for a political rally to happen. There'd be, Joya being beaten on the road. There'd be tear gas being thrown. There'd be people who would be found in a church and whipped. We saw that, and then we got to a point of maturity where that no longer happens. When there's actually a case of some disruption of a political rally, there will be something else, not just because police felt or some goons turned up. Although we saw that happening in last year in Muranga. Remember at Kabati on a certain Sunday morning, where goons just came to cause chaos and police were watching. So it's a level of maturity that Uganda needs to get to, where you just allow. So who is this political opposition leader? Kizza Besigye. Okay, he's having his rallies. Let him do it. Who is this person? He is Chagulanyi. What is he doing? He's having his rallies. Okay, let him do it. What does he want to do? He wants to insult the president, call me senile, whatever.
But they do have their rallies. I mean, they're interfered with, yes.
Yeah, once in a while, but not all the rallies. They actually end up holding many rallies.
They do. They do. You see, what I would like to understand, and I was saying, go easy on that elder statesman thing, because when you now start talking about African thinking and somebody being an elder expects people to relate to him also in a certain way.
Yep.
And an elder will also consider their duty to mete out discipline where they feel none is lacking. Now, unfortunately, that thinking doesn't forebode very well in the political sphere. Because in the spirit of teaching someone a lesson, what you might end up doing is really harming them.
Yep.
But in essence, what are we dealing with? Is it teaching a lesson, or is it being intolerant to what you actually consider to be opposition, in whatever form it is?
It's a mix of both. It's a mix of both. Let's hear from Felix in Migori. Good morning, Felix.
Morning, Spicy Sam.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Thank you very much for calling in. What's your view on what's happening in Uganda?
Okay, what's happening in Uganda? Generally, when you try to view most of these African states, you realize that we generally have a problem when it comes to election time. So what is happening in Uganda is not something that is new in most African states. Because you realize that democracy in Africa has been suppressed. So due to that, you realize that those people who are in power, they always dare to believe that they should be in power and they should continue to be in power until death crops them out of power. So that is the challenge that we have in Africa. Because when you try to view even the neighboring countries that went ahead in the elections just a few months ago, you realize how opposition was dealt with. Same thing is happening in Uganda. So it is just a common problem that is facing most of the African nations.
Thank you very much, Felix.
Yeah, thank you.
Asante sana. 0719-012-600. Is it an African problem? Is it? It also happens in other parts of the world as well. In Asia, in Latin America, in parts of Europe. It happens, okay? So in Tanzania, we saw they had an election last year. We saw what happened to all the opposition candidates. We saw what happened in the final result, the number of opposition candidates who actually were declared winner, and the number of ruling party candidates who were declared winner. Before we just continue, let's hear from Peter in Kisumu. Hello, Peter.
Yes, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yes, my name is Peter. I want to talk about concerning the conversation you're having about the election in Uganda.
Yes.
Have you ever known the problem with that is African themselves? Because have you ever seen any president from outside the continent while he's speaking or addressing the congregation, kuna askari nyuma memsimamia? It's only in Africa.
It's global, bwana. The ADC.
My brother.
Yeah.
The ADC tradition is not an African tradition.
We actually inherited that tradition. Other countries also have them. But there's a point you wanted to make. Please continue.
Yes. Yes, I want to say that we are the problem. As voters of Africa, we are the problem. Like, for example, let's take, for example, in this country of ours, in Kenya. You know very well, like the case of Kiambu governor. People want to make him be the governor. Want him for them to vie for the state of Nairobi. You know, he has grave allegations. And we go ahead electing him. Some people wanted to endorse him, but because of the court, they nullified nothing. So you see, we are the problem as Africans, as voters. So as the case of Bobby Wine, we need to. It's okay. He has to follow his. He has decided to be the president, so he knows what he can do, what he can deliver. So I support him 100%. He's supposed to go and vie, no matter the outcome. Doesn't matter. He needs to start by himself, not because of what people say.
Okay, good points. Thank you very much, Peter.
You know,
and Joseph, there's Joseph. Joseph as well in Nairobi. Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Good.
We're well, thank you.
Cool. Happy New Year.
To you.
Well, Happy New Year, sir.
Cool. Now, I wanted to talk about Chaburani, about the 50s. As we have been seeing here in Kenya, and as you have seen, lights back from their country, good to take precaution. You see, previously the driver was shot.
Yep.
So quite good for him to take precaution and move or take his family to exile. That's good for him. As he travel with the event. Yeah, that's good for him. I agree with that.
So you support that move?
I do support that.
Thank you very much, Joseph.
Cool. Good. Have a good day.
You too, Joseph. Have a good one. So, City, you wanted to say something?
Well, I wanted to say that the summit I mentioned that took place in 2018.
The iPod.
Yes, iPod. There are many issues which were discussed, and some of the issues that we are talking about. Let me just quote what has been documented as the views of President Museveni. Okay. Now, with public assemblies, he said that one of the things that he is not against them, but he has problems with rallies being held at marketplaces. Okay.
Okay.
Because it interferes. He took an oath to protect the safety of Ugandans, and when you have rallies in marketplaces, you're interfering with the livelihood of normal citizens, right? So he called upon political actors to avoid unconstitutional politics because the government would not allow it. That's one. Okay. Now, he also said that if you look at Uganda, because of what NRM has done, there has been no looting and breaking into shops and things like that because people have rallies. That is credit to the NRM. Now, on the issues he brought out, torture. He said the government is against it. The government does not support torture. That he said that, however, security forces will come in if political actors are indisciplined. Now, interpret it as you see fit.
Interpret discipline as you see fit.
Yes, exactly. Now, on the topic that was brought up of wiping out the opposition, he said the president said that the opposition parties were in danger of being wiped out. Listen to this. Because they miscalculate and do not want to work with an NRM to deal with the issues facing the country. And he gave an example of the fight they had with Kony. And he said the opposition were against them and the opposition supported Kony. But when they won, now they took credit for it because they're the ones who won. Now he said, how then did the opposition expect that they will be championing the will of the people when they don't want to work with the government to do things which will help the people of Uganda? Those are just some of the things that are attributed to Yoweri Museveni and things which he said to have said. Now, the feedback from people who came to that meeting, leaders of forums, political groups, they all seem to, what is reported here is the agreement that yes, dialogue was important. That particular summit was important, that people can come out and actually share and air what it is that they have. And of course, as usual, that many more such meetings should be held. So it isn't as though when President Museveni says he encourages dialogue, he doesn't have it. He had it himself. Political parties were available.
And he came and spoke candidly.
Candidly, and everybody was allowed to speak candidly.
On what he felt was, the problem.
Yes, he did.
You are a political party in the opposition. We are the party in government, and we are the ones who are running the country. And now you're doing things that are going contrary to what we are trying to do for the people.
So what do you think is going to happen? Yeah. And he also argues that...
And you'll not even survive because the people will not support you. In fact, I'm sure that's what he meant. It's not that I'm going to crash the party.
Actually, he even said that because of the defeat that Kony suffered, 2011, that's why NRM was voted back in overwhelmingly.
Yep. James in Kisumu, good morning.
Good morning, Happy New Year to City, to Du, and to Eric.
Good morning, and Happy New Year to you, James.
I kind of would like to make a contribution to the ongoing discussion.
Right.
On my perspective, I think Bobby Wine is just a horn bill.
He's a what?
And he's just a horn bill. A horn bill.
Yes.
Yeah. Going by the perspective of what has been going on in Uganda, we all know that when Museveni got into power, Uganda was in shambles. But this guy has struggled all the years to bring Uganda to where it is at the moment. So what Bobby is trying to say, I think he's just trying to get a political mileage on how people can vote in him, and also to get a popular stand on the vote that we are going to have. But on the actuality of Uganda state, I have been to Uganda. Actually, my mom comes from Uganda. So some time back we visited there, and you see that in Uganda, it is just the people within the town that are actually not comfortable with the kind of ruling that they're getting from Museveni. But the people living in the rural Uganda, they don't care whoever becomes the president, because to them they just okay. Like the shelter is okay. To them, food is cheap, shelter is cheap, the clothing is cheap. So they don't care. They're getting the basic necessities at an affordable rate. So whoever becomes the president is not an issue to them. But the people in the town are the ones who now think like they need to get development and other things. Yeah. That's my contribution today.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, too.
He calls him a hornbill. But if you look at what the opposition has been able to do, so starting from Kizza Besigye and now to Chagulanyi and going into this election, there's one thing that they're doing incrementally, the awakening of the people on how they make their choice, on that there's a possibility of having somebody else other than Yoweri Museveni in office. Remember, there are very many voters who only know Museveni.
Yep.
So I think one of the good things that's happening here and seeing somebody like Bobby Wine emerging as a young person and saying, all right, I want to unseat this person and pushing through for it is a good thing because it's providing that alternative. And the opposition is gaining ground every election. The kind of ground that the opposition party seems to have gained now in the urban areas in Kampala and the other major towns is actually bigger than it was 15 years ago.
I mean, the narrative in Uganda has always been that the major percentage of voters have come from the rural setting. And now that has changed. We saw examples of this in the US, where now more people in urban settings are actually taking a vote. And I think something that he said, that he alluded to, is that it may not necessarily be that Ugandans want to vote in a popular leader, but Ugandans might want to vote out Yoweri Museveni. Not necessarily that they're bringing somebody in, but that they're taking him out. And we've seen this play out in many countries as well. And, being alive to that reality, I think, is one thing that's very, very important here. Because this man has been there for the last 30-some-odd years, doesn't mean that everybody's comfortable with him.
Yeah.
There's
also that euphoria of change.
Sure.
Yeah, but also the thing you must understand also, the people who represent the most vocal, the most visible opposition leaders in Uganda seem to come from one community, the Baganda. So it could be argued that it is the Baganda who don't particularly like Museveni. Now remember, Uganda has close to, if not over 28 registered political parties. We only hear of the ones whose leaders are out in the public domain and whom we hear about ever so often. And remember that this was not possible before 2005 because, remember when NRM came in, there were no political parties. This multi-party democracy didn't exist. Then remember Uganda also had a referendum. And when they had a referendum, then all these things were allowed in and the issue of multi-party democracy and so was ushered in. So what I'm saying is, if you look at the politics and ask yourself in detail what really is going on and why it is that this is so, travel to Uganda and see it. What you will find, and to your amazement, is that Yoweri Museveni is actually quite popular outside Kampala. Quite popular. And Uganda, like Kenya, you will find that the bulk of their population is actually in the rural areas, not in their towns. So it's one thing to be popular in town, but it's quite another for you to be able to
be popular in the...
Yes, in the whole country. Yes.
Same was argued about Moi until Moi finished his term. Those two elections, the multi-party era, 92 and 97, it was... Moi is very popular in the rural areas. That, we have all these campaigns, all these opposition leaders coming up, the Matibas, the Kibakis, and the Jaramogis.
The Who's.
But ni moto ya makaratasi.
Fire off the papers.
Yes. When it comes to the actual voters, go to the rural areas and you'll find people who will just say Kanu without even flinching.
And yet, remember, for
what's
the longest...
the reason why they say Kanu without flinching?
But there was no... there was a time it was only Kanu. That was a party. There was no other party.
Because that's what they know. So many would argue that there's also then the desire to stifle any other kind of knowledge that could be brought to the same people who have voted in a particular way for the last 30-odd years. And anybody who might come along in the present day or even in the future might present an alternative to the people who have taken one position forever.
You see, the matter of political discourse and political processes, there is what we see in the public domain, and there's what we don't see in the public domain. Remember, I've mentioned this forum on many occasions that Museveni has a total of 141 advisors. Maybe they've increased, maybe they've decreased, but around 141. Now, these are people who at one time or the other have been part of NRM, have assisted, and they have privileges. You have an office, you have a vehicle, and you have a stipend or a salary.
Which can easily be taken away from you if you don't advise in a particular direction.
Actually, anything that is given to you can be taken away. It's not even...
There's also the influence to advise in a particular way. And there's also the opportunity to reject any kind of advice that could come.
And there's also the opportunity to make people who you have worked in the past to feel useful and not to feel that they have been neglected and not considered.
Therefore, not to jump into the opposition.
Exactly, or not to oppose you.
Form opposition.
Yes, precisely. So, we're talking about a political process here and how it's being managed. The thing that stands out and which is glaringly negative, the beatings we keep seeing. And in cases where people are actually shot and people die, that is absolutely negative. And there's no way around it. You can't placate it, you can't talk it into being pleasant because it isn't.
Yep.
But if you're just talking about political processes and how they are run, it cannot be said that this is not a person who actually listens and has dialogue with other people who may oppose him. He does. He may not have it in the same way that you may particularly want him to, but he does.
So elections are happening on Thursday next week. And we want to have conversations with people from Uganda, people who understand the issues and the politics and the campaigns and the manifesto of the main candidates. That's a conversation we'll be having on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday and Thursday, and then follow up again when the results start coming out. So we promise you that coming up in the next week. And also when Anne Kananu Mwenda is vetted at the County Assembly of Nairobi, we'll be following that up as well and have the conversation even before that. So what is it that the County Assembly members will be looking out for when they are seeking to vet her for position of governor this time of Nairobi County? Okay? So we are coming to the top of the hour, and we have a lot of things to talk about today's proverb because it's a very important proverb. Musembi says, I'm becoming addicted to this proverb thing.
Okay.
You've done what people do. Introduce drugs at a party. You're free. Yeah, don't worry.
Just one.
It's just free. I mean, I'm not asking for kidogo. Now they become addicted. Now they want to fix. And then you'll start selling it. Hi, today's proverb, City.
The version that I have...
The rider is important.
As opposed to the version that some other people have. One who loves you warns you. Very many communities, very many groups of people have similar sayings, and the meaning is the same. People don't necessarily like to be told the truth that they don't agree with or is unpleasant, but anyone who tells you things that you may not particularly like but are true, that is someone who actually cares for you. That is why they're telling you these things. And you take it as far back as when a child is punished. It's not because you think the child is evil. It's because you want the child to understand that what they're doing is not right. It is not right for them, and it's also not right in any context that the child may live. So the child grows up knowing that these are things that you don't do. So when they do, they know because they've been told.
Okay. So this proverb is from Uganda.
Yes.
And just going off the back of the conversation that we were having, so one who is basically just giving you a couple of cautions here and there, either through a smack or just arresting you, is love.
Please.
This is out of love.
Yeah,
it is not because I hate you. It's just, the way mothers used to say, I'm not beating you.
I'm not disciplining because I hate you. It's because I want you to.
Yeah. Sikuchapi wewe nachapa makosa. That time, my friend. Hey. There's nothing you haven't faced.
You are in yes.
And then you're still told, now keep quiet. Of course, when you're told keep quiet, you can't. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Situation Room this week. Join us again next week, Monday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and every other weekday. Going after that, C.T. Muga, Nduoko, and Eric Latif wishing you a lovely second weekend. Hey, It's the second weekend already. We're already
January.
at 2. Second weekend of this year, 2021. See you next week. So you have an interrupted music between now and 3 o'clock, and then you have the Spice Drive until 7. Monique will be here from 3. And then the adults in the room will be here from 7 o'clock until 10.